Happy New Year in advance. And also remind you of the permanent time change for this program, and that you can still link me on the phone at 667-369-8569. Again, that's 667-369-8569. And you can also link me in the chat room and by email. The email is rattiganwil, that's rattiganwill@gmail.com. Well, family, poor people, today we are creating history. Today, for the first time, one radio event will have a panel consisting of 4 born and bred Jamaicans who host their own individual radio show with a growing global audience. And all of us are involved in exposing the folly, the inefficiencies, and the criminal activities of the politicians and the powerful in Jamaica. We are involved in informing and educating the powerless. And we are involved in providing solutions to the vexing crime, violence, and corruption issues affecting Jamaica. My people, yours truly, Will Rattigan, the rebel with a cause, is the newest kid on the block among this group of internet and mainstream outstanding radio personalities. For the past 3 months, I have been hosting Reason with Rattigan. And in that short period, I have watched the program grow from strength to strength, and I am greatly encouraged by the impact. Again, my people, your love, your encouragement, and your support have given me the impetus to work even harder. And rest assured that there's much more to come in the new year. Today, on this special New Year's Eve broadcast, it is my distinct pleasure to be joined by luminaries. First, Conrad, the fireman O'Brien from Straight Up New Stock 93 FM in Jamaica. We also have Jeffrey, the People's Defender from Mequitalk Roots FM in Jamaica. And last and certainly not least, we have Wayne, the renegade who no afraid, lonesome, the YouTube sensation out of Jamaica. This promises to be a dynamic, eye-opening, gripping program. And like last week when we had on Herb Nelson Jr., our intelligence analyst, you will be our captive audience for the next several hours. It has been said that an audience's attention span is about 15 minutes. Well, I promise you this. The information we are going to provide will have you asking me to extend the program. So sit back, relax, and be informed. Let me also say that this program, in its conception, was designed to last only 1 hour. We took a chance. We did it for 2 hours. And again, only after 3 months, people have been asking for an extension of the program. They just can't get enough. And when we have on dynamic guests like the panel we have, it makes it even more compelling to have three hours. And that's what we've done today, and that's what we will continue to do in the future. Now, since this show is billed as the year in review, I have asked each of my guests to identify their 2022 top crime or corruption issues or issue, and to speak without interruption for a period of time, and then I'll open up the conversation so that we can all participate. And that includes you, my listening, viewing audience, my people. Before we start, let me make one clarification. Last week, Herb Nelson Jr. made certain assertions about a prominent Jamaican politician and asked me about the meaning of a U.S. immigration annotation that was affixed to that person's U.S. visitor's visa. It was a 212 annotation. It was 212A2CI. Again, 212A2CI. I said in response that a 212 designation had to do with drug trafficking and money laundering. And that's true. However, the specific annotation on that person's visa means that the U.S. government knows or has reason to believe that the individual has been involved in illicit trafficking of a controlled substance, that is to say, drugs, or is or has knowingly aided, abetted, assisted, conspired, or colluded with others in the illicit trafficking of a controlled substance. Now, you can get a waiver for actual or suspected drug trafficking. And in this case, the US government granted the waiver and the person was allowed to travel, and the person did travel to the US. Let me just say that there is a money laundering section of the same law, but it is a different subsection. It's still a 212 violation, but it's a 212A21. The one I mentioned to you just now, it was a 212A2CI. This one is a 212A2I. And all this means is that the US government knows or has reason to believe that the individual has engaged, is engaging, or seeks to enter the US to engage in money laundering, or who is or has been an aider, abettor, assister, conspirator, or colluder with others in money laundering. So to reiterate, a 212A2CI annotation is only for actual or suspected drug trafficking. So I need to make that clear that my response last week had nothing to do with what's in this person's on this person's visa. It only had to do with the 212 violation. And those two violations, money laundering and drug trafficking, they fall under the 212 designation. Interestingly, it was reported in the media that the tourist visa issued to this political person in question was only valid for 1 year. Means it was valid from September 2021 to this year, September 2022. And so far, we have not heard from the US government or this political figure if the visa was extended beyond September 2022, and if the drug trafficking annotation was removed. We haven't heard that. So, Mr. Herb Nelson, if you're listening to me, and I'm sure you are, what information do you have concerning this matter? I'm sure we'll hear from Herb in the new year regarding this matter. All right, shout out time. Prayers and blessings for Ma P, Ma Jean, Mrs. Nelson, Sadie Mac, Patrick and Beth, Mr. Guntley, Joanna Marie, and Ed. And by the way, I'd like to say a special shout out to the Reggae Global family because they've expressed a tremendous amount of confidence and belief in me to the point where they've afforded me an extra hour to broadcast to you, the people. So, Ed, Joanna, Marie, Melly, the rest of the family, Kevin and the rest of the family, want to say thank you very much. And I hope that I'll live up to your expectations. Condolences to Earl Ashman and his family on the passing of his beloved sister, Patsy. May her soul rest in eternal peace. Kevin, Opal Mahoney, and Luke George, big up on yourself. And finally, well, not finally, a big shout out to all my listeners and viewers in Jamaica and the diaspora. Big up on yourself, Donovan from Rallington, the Admiral, and the rest of the crew. Harry, Richardo, Mr. Guntley from Firehouse. Big up on yourself. Now we turn to update. I am still waiting on a response from the Ministry of Agriculture and Fisheries and the Ministry of Finance regarding my inquiries under the Access to Information Act of 2002. As you're aware, family, these inquiries pertain to the 2.6 million pounds of fertilizer from Morocco to Jamaica for farmers. And by the way, I've only heard from one farmer who heard about this and made an inquiry of RADA and was told that she didn't qualify. Every other farmer I've spoken to, they said they didn't know anything about this fertilizer. Hence, they didn't get any. We're also waiting to hear about the gift filings regarding Minister Kamina Johnson-Smith's campaign for Secretary General of the Commonwealth. So We should be hearing from them next week based on the law. Otherwise, we will have to take appropriate action. And no, we're not afraid to take appropriate action. Look at my panel. None of them not afraid. So, last week, I talked about the despicable behavior of Ambassador Audrey Marks at the town hall meeting she held for the Prime Minister and the Police Commissioner. Now, I have been given the understanding that my comments have rubbed some of her supporters the wrong way. Well, let me pose this question to all of you, detractors and supporters alike. And please be honest. If you're a Jamaican, I'm sure you were taught by your teachers and your parents to speak the truth and speak it ever, cause it what it will. Because he who hides the wrong he does the wrong thing still. So here's a question. Should I or you, family, apologize for feeling or feel guilty for telling the truth? That's the question. Should you apologize or feel guilty for telling the truth? Everything I spoke regarding the ambassador last week, and even the week before, 100% truthful. One of our cultural icons, the Radam man, Peanut Dread, once told us a story, and I'll just abbreviate the story for you. He said one day he was stranded and he asked for, he hitched a ride with somebody. And he sat in the front seat with the driver. And the driver mouth had a foul smell. And it was getting to him because he had to put his head outside the window because of the smell, the foul smell coming from this person's mouth. And then finally he said to the person, "Why, I don't know what you eat, but your mouth stink." And the man pulled over and said, "Get out of my car." And Peanut Dread said, the moral of that story is that not every truth must be told. Well, that may be true. However, that won't be the case around here. Every truth will be told with no consideration for fear, friendship, or favor. So, without further delay, let me introduce the panel. We have the fireman with his brand new $1 million gold chain around his neck. Then we have Jeffrey Tavares, the defender. And of course,
yes, sir,
the man in the studio right there with all his equipment, Wayne.
Man in the wilderness.
Man in the wilderness, man. Yes, the renegade who not afraid. Well, here's what we're going to do. Renegade who not afraid. Why don't you take the floor and just talk to us about, the issues that you're concerned about that took place in Jamaica this year. May have happened before, but spilled over into this year. Please, the floor is yours, my brother.
So you want to know, one of the biggest issues with the crime and violence in Jamaica, right? And the government and them cover up. Them have a commissioner of police who can't do the job. Him don't know what him doing, right? And them living on SOE like is a crime plan, and we have said that cannot be a crime plan. All them do is cancel people human rights and turn it over. A matter of fact, you cancel human rights and I give police, soldier police powers. But not work. If you look on the figures, the murder figures last year, you have 1,464 persons lost their life, right? And as it stands, the 28th, because I think today and yesterday the amount of people pass off unbelievable. The 28th, yeah? In a Jamaica house, when they're making that speech, it was 1,481, according to the Commissioner of Police. But him say, the SOE working. Me not even understand that. A matter of fact, before them, and them call back state of emergency again. On top of this, before them call the state of emergency, the past Christmas, right? Few days ago, Christmas, right? Around 6 days ago, right, Conrad? 5 days? 6 days ago, right? Christmas. Mm-hmm. I saw the commissioner on TV giving a rundown. I'm going to play it. Just listen what the commissioner said. Just listen this. Listen this.
It's always good to be out and meeting with the members, especially at this time of Christmas Day. It's an important day when most people are at home with their families. We have to have people on duty and It's always a pleasure to come out and interact with officers on Christmas morning. We've visited 6 stations across largely Kingston and St. Andrew. Started in Port Royal early this morning, and now we're at Stony Hill Police Station. So it's been a good day. Most of the places, as a matter of fact, all of them have been recorded. So no crimes have been reported to any of the stations that we visited. And hopefully we'll have the rest of the day being as peaceful as it has been so far. The team has been working really hard over the last 3 months to reduce crime, all sorts of crime, but particularly in terms of violent crime. We will, of course, have just come out of a state of public emergency, and certainly before the end of the year, I'll be seeking another one to start from the latter part of the year.
Yeah, what the commissioner of police has said. Him said on the 25th, him start from Port Royal, from East Kingston, that and Port Royal. And him up in Kansas Springs, right? Up in that side. And no crime committee, no crime reported, none. Him run over 6 stations, 6 of those stations, right? No crime and everything peaceful. But him will be seeking another state of emergency. That for sure, the government don't have a plan, a crime plan or something. The man use state of emergency, like it's a crime plan or something. And I think it's unconstitutional. It don't make no sense. You can tell me something. When people use state of emergency, why they use state of emergency? A country or a state that use state of emergency. You can't answer that for me, Rattigan?
Yeah, state of emergencies or states of emergency, they usually use it where you have an insurrection, like the 6th of January in America. They would use it for that, or natural disasters, but you wouldn't see it being used as a crime tool.
Or what took place in Tivoli.
Right, exactly. But it wouldn't be used on a regular basis like the way it's being used in Jamaica.
So that for sure the people of Jamaica, if we stand up for the right, and the PSOJ, if we stop back the foolishness. Because the state of emergency, them wear it out, have the soldier, them give them police powers, cancel people human rights. You understand? And it nothing at all. Nothing at all, because remember, last year, you have 1,464 persons lost their life. This year, it passed that. I'm a matter of fact, talking to some police brethren, and them say, so make I tell you something. The figure more near to 2,000 people lost them life. Not joke, because a lot of them do. All right. For instance, Conrad and Jeffrey and Rattigan. Yesterday at Burger King, 2 of those guys who fight in that fight, 2 of them lost their life, Yeah. That's not up yet, because remember them are do the autopsy before them tell you if them die of heart attack. Because I know them get chopped or get stabbed, them still have to do the autopsy. You think them are going to drop that in the figure for this year? You think the body when them find the other man will get chopped up, the other man, them are going to drop it in the figure? It going to look bad for the commissioner. It going to look bad for the national security minister and the government. So most of this, them are going to just filter it out in January. And that's bad. You understand? This is a fail on the government, the kind of approach. We say we need a different kind of approach because the art stand where them are talk about, and the amount of money where them say them spend, and the amount of station where you build, that don't reduce crime. It don't make no sense. You understand what I'm saying? You see me I say again?
Yes, indeed.
Yes, it don't make no sense. So the government have to come up with a plan and talk to us. And a matter of fact, in a them briefing the other day, they matter like yes, the state, the SOE working.
But gentlemen, listen to me. You see, when you have a government who is failing your people, they'll continue to put up things, and in their mind, they think it is working. Because you know why? Termites has eaten out their brain. So they believe their own lies. They believe their own things that they're saying. And they expect us as Jamaicans to believe it. No. The SOE, why is it that the Prime Minister did not approach the opposition with it? Because he knows that the SOE was not formulated in the Constitution for him to be using it as he wants. He knows that. And that is why he go beyond and override the opposition. And that what he's doing, he needs to stop it. He's breaching the fundamental rights of the Jamaican people.
Let me have Conrad jump in here. Go the fireman.
I know we're in Wayne's preamble, but I just want to add to the whole thing there that the crime indeed continue unabated as we greet our people. And for example, in Montego Bay, the heart, the belly of where one of the state of emergency is, a gentleman that is well known to people primarily, people generally, but people in PNP's circle because he's an active member, a gentleman by the name of Mr. Moore. And I mention him because I gather he was about 85 years old. And they went to the park where he operated that park, the manager for the park over the years. That park is owned by the Anglican Church, I gather. And they snuffed out his life. 3 shots they gave an 85-year-old man in the heart of a state of emergency scenario. That in the middle of the day, in broad daylight, this wasn't on the night, it was in broad daylight. Also,
when did this happen? When did this happen?
Day before yesterday. That would be Thursday, right? And yesterday, I got information out of Manchester that within a 12-hour period, 2 murders were actually committed in Manchester. Granted, Manchester is not in the state of emergency. And as Wayne pointed out earlier, that Burger King scenario, and we can point out to a plethora of murders that had taken place since we got the last figure of 400 and, which surpassed last year figure.
Already, yes.
Which surpassed last year figure. And indeed, we still have what is it? A few hours left to go before the closing of the year. So all in all, when you look at the commissioner's record, it continued to go down the slippery slope. It continued to be a mammoth failure. We are hearing through the grapevine that the Minister of National Security, Dr. Horace Chang, may be giving way from that portfolio. Would it be reasonable or would it be unreasonable for us to ask for Dr. Chang squared to go, meaning the Commissioner of Police should also take leave because certainly he has failed the people of Jamaica in keeping property and person secure over the so many years that he was there. In addition to that, you also have to put the entire crime scenario at his feet in a big way. Because remember that after he demit office as head of JDA, he was placed as the National Security Advisor. And that would be to say, Rattigan and my fellow colleague, that his mandate there would be in the main to advise the Prime Minister and by extension the government in terms of putting in mechanism to quell the crime situation and what we have seen over the last 7 years, approximately, under this administration led by Mr. Holness. It's a mammoth failure. So I'm going on record again. Sorry, Jeff. I am going on record again saying that, listen, the cabinet we gather will see an early shuffle next year, and I'm saying that the Commissioner of Police should also take leave.
Jeff, go ahead.
But listen to me, gentlemen. I'm sorry I can go on, but listen to me, gentlemen. How on earth can we continue talking about a Prime Minister who is clearly is a dictator? He doesn't listen to anybody. His arrogance, it is public knowledge. The Prime Minister of Jamaica, Michael Andrew Holness, do not listen to nobody, no guy, no girl, nowhere.
So what you telling me, Jeff? So I'll do is vote, put you in, and you're a you're a servant of the people. Where him say him a king unto himself.
Yes, man. He's GG King for China.
Let me jump in here and say something because somebody just sent me a message here asking to kind of like explain the constitutionality of states of emergency, and whether or not it's a crime tool or a tool to address the crime issues. Well, under the Constitution, and we've talked about this before, a state of emergency is constitutional. There's nothing wrong with declaring a state of emergency. And as I said earlier, it can be declared in three situations. One is if Jamaica is at war with another country.
Good.
Two is if there's a public disaster, earthquake, hurricane, flood, fire, disease, whatever. And the third, which is the one that the government has used through the Governor General, is that it says if that action has been taken or is immediately threatened by any person or body of persons of such a nature and so extensive a scale as to be likely to endanger the public safety. Now, when you read that, when you break that down into common everyday language, what it says is that if, and by the way, a serial killer could qualify under this. It says that if somebody's taking action, or if you think they're going to take action in an immediate way, and the action is so extensive a scale that it could likely endanger the public safety, then the government, through the Governor General, can declare a state of emergency. The problem with that is this. You have to identify who is this person or the body of persons. Who are these people? They haven't done that. What they've said is, there's an uptick in crime. That's not enough under the Constitution. Now, let me say this. And Renegade, you mentioned that they violated people's constitutional rights.
Of course.
Right,
yes.
And they did, because there are two cases that were decided in court in Jamaica. And I've read one of them. And in that particular case, there were, I think, 4 or 5 people who were detained.
Indeed.
Right, they were detained, and they were detained
for a period.
Yeah, they were detained for a period, a little between 4.5 months to over a year. They were detained, not charged, and they claimed that the detention was illegal and unconstitutional, and the court agreed with them. And I think the government had to pay.
That's a case that is commonly referred to the Douglas case. And remember that there is a payout of about $17+ million there.
So to answer the question in a nutshell, yes, a state of emergency is legal under the Constitution, but the way it's implemented by the government, that's unconstitutional. And the problem is this: that case is on appeal. So what should happen is that the government should either reform the way it's doing states of emergency or don't do them at all, because we're still waiting for that appeals court to render a decision. But they're still going forward and doing the same thing that they were doing before.
So make we answer that
hold on there
again.
Hold on, Jeff. Let me hear it. Go ahead, wait.
So like you remember Rodney King, that guy named Rodney King, police did beat him in California.
Yeah, Rodney King, yeah.
And then the people them come out now and start burn and loot and everything. Now you're going to have a state of emergency because you want to put back things in order.
Right.
Okay?
That's
a lot of things and everything. You understand? But one in Jamaica, it does need policing. But what the government says, because I listen carefully when I dissect, what the Prime Minister says, right? He said, about life and everything. Him tell about life and danger and life and everything, as long as the commissioner asks for it. And what the commissioner does say, I just played for you. Him said, no crime. Him told the place on Sunday, everything quiet. But him, I got drawback for a state of emergency. No, that man should get a charge or move or something. That a breach. And like something dire, the man deliberately I tell you, listen, I use back state of emergency for going at 2000. Because him says that's tragedy. I will finish play it for you, you know. Him say apartheid them thing what them I use, you know, with other things. So that means it's a crime plan them I use it for. It can't use as a crime plan. This is a joke. This is against human rights.
Fireman, go ahead. Oh, wait a minute. No, Fireman, hold on. Jeff, go ahead. Jeffrey, go ahead.
The question that we need to ask ourselves, gentlemen, in which other modern democracy can the governing party continue to disrespect the opposition and get away with such blatant thing? And they have changed an attorney general and give to another attorney general. So the question must be asked, and the president of the Senate, Thomas Tavares Finson, is a King C. He's an attorney at law. And you're saying to me that they're all afraid of the prime minister? Is that the case that they can't say, look here, prime minister, what you're doing is unconstitutional. You can't just continue to have state of emergency up and down to solve crime? Yes, you can have state of emergency. In 14 days, you can apply for another state of emergency. But you continue disrespecting the opposition. You don't bring them into anything. You don't have a meeting pertaining to anything. The prime minister lied to the people of Jamaica.
About
he
what?
spoke to the opposition leader about the state of emergency. He did not. He spoke to the opposition leader behind the speaker's chamber. And that was it. Nothing more.
Okay. All right. Fireman, go ahead.
Jeff, make an answer that with Jeff. What him do when him lie, him come and say, you agree with it. But what happened is, it was the other opposition leader, the then, Dr. Phillips said, I don't agree with this, but I continue. You remember Conrad, right? So, yes. So him come and said that and that, but I correct that answer. Listen to me. You remember the new opposition leader, Mr. Golden, came in when? 2000 after 2020 election, right?
After the election.
So what them do now, them start of a next thing now because me listen them good enough. So well, the then opposition leader, we and him did have something, so them not try to patch out back something because them come and tell lie. We say it unconstitutional. You cannot use this against people human rights and I use this for a crime plan. It's not going to work. It need intelligence on the ground. You need to do community policing. You understand? Stop give soldier police powers who them never train as police. Them that train as police, them don't know what them doing. You understand? Why you make soldier work by themselves, give them police power. That's why they call it, you know. You understand? It's wrong.
Fireman.
It's wrong.
Fireman.
Yes.
Indeed, the chairman himself, Corporal Ron James, he said that we don't need a state of emergency. What we need is proximity policing, which is akin to community policing and so on. But I want to just look at the whole thing here in terms of just by way of information and contextualizing. You know, we know we have new listeners that join us on a weekly basis. Every show we have different listeners and viewers join us. But we must point out that each and every week that we join the forum here, we make it a point of our duty to point out that the state of emergency of itself is not unconstitutional. It is the way the government is going about administering the state of emergency. And I think it's important for us to make that point because we are responsible people here and we don't just speak from the seat of our pants. We are research oriented. I also want to add into the discussion that as it relates to the state of emergency that's going on now, the Minister of National Security himself, the Honorable Dr. Horace Chang, Deputy Prime Minister of Jamaica, said that it would be untidy and wouldn't give reasons to good government. I'm paraphrasing here. To good government if the government should go along with the state of emergency without the opposition of the day sanctioning it. So last week, I think it was one day last week, I heard, Wednesday or so, I heard Dr. Chang and Dan Jackson program on Radio Jamaica. And he was making a case, and I sent a question in to Mrs. Miller to ask him if he had a change of heart on this issue, because he was there backing the state of emergency that announced by the Prime Minister, while he said prior that it would not make good government. And, if you want consensus, then certainly you have to do things in the proper in the proper way. And it begs the question. Is it that the Prime Minister decide to rule on prime ministerial edict that would basically bring us into what I am describing as a police state and tinkering on the edge of dictatorial government? That clip, Jeffrey, that last I sent you a clip there. I think it was yesterday, where I was talking about that, in one of my takes, and I stand by it. It doesn't look good. The Prime Minister, this is the first post-independence Prime Minister we have.
Yes.
Prime Minister born after independence, and certainly we would expect some better governance from Andrew Michael Holness, our dear Prime Minister.
But how can you expect some better leadership when you have the former leader of the Labour Party, who said, I'm the only leader in this party, and all the rest are Donovan's? The man is running this country like how Xi Jinping have an iron fist on China, and like how Vladimir Putin have an iron fist on Russia. But let me make something clear to Michael Andrew Holness this evening.
The Right Honourable. The Right Honourable.
The Right Honourable.
The Most Honourable, yeah.
Or the Most Honourable Andrew Holness. What I want to say, I am live on here, can't say it.
It's Andrew, let's get it right. It's Andrew Michael Holness.
The Most Honourable Andrew Michael Holness.
Indeed.
CD.
So Jeffrey.
MP, Prime Minister. Let me make something clear to you this evening. We, the people of Jamaica, put you there. And we, the people, can take you down. Be careful what you're doing to poor people in this country.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Renegade.
Yes, man. Me that tell Jeffrey look a while when he must say, I'm like Xi Jinping and Vladimir Putin. But that's I remind Jeffrey, well, you saw Vladimir Putin I do it now just last week. Them oligarchs, a couple of them dropped through window now, me a top billionaire, them just drop out of some high billion and die, So, man, we marked too, because we not afraid, we are talking the truth. And we get marked,
They come.
But hold on, let me throw out a question here to
yes.
the panel. And I'm getting some messages here from the listening audience, and they said they love the way it's going. We should just keep it free flowing, introduce a topic, and then all of us just jump in. And that's fine. But let me ask you this. It appears to me that the Prime Minister is also the crime minister. And when I say crime minister, I mean he's in charge of dealing with crime. Because if you look at the tourism ministry, you don't see him getting involved over there and talking a whole lot, because we have the tourism minister who's in control over there. We don't see him talking much about Ministry of Finance. We have Nigel Clark over there. We don't see him getting involved over there. But for this one issue, we see him traveling to discuss crime issues. Yes. We see him taking the podium to discuss crime issues. So let me ask you a question. Do we have a Minister of National Security, an effective Minister of National, I guess I'm answering my question, but do we have an effective Minister of National Security, or is that portfolio being handled by the Prime Minister?
Hold on, Jeffrey. I can ask just one thing and then it answers everything. We want to know about Arakabesa, the court port.
The what? What port is that, sir?
Yes, the Arakabesa. We want to hear about that. We call it, we dub it the court port, right? Because when you find the biggest, coke bus in the history at a airport in Jamaica history. Nearly $4 billion, $3.8 billion worth of coke. Yeah? And you don't give a prime minister, you don't give a national security minister, you don't hear the commissioner come up and say, hey, and not even, it make good start. Wonder if them, me not understand this. I can't understand it. Because the prime minister that come and say, well, this is what we do, and that's what happen, and this is what we put in. But the man them silent, me don't know what happened. Can't have them done. And yet the prime minister and the commissioner of police have the audacity to go to Washington, D.C. and so them have names of people and give it to the American government. So at the court port.
Hold on one second, Jeffrey. Jeffrey, I think there's some static on your microphone. I don't know what's going on, but whenever you speak, there is static. Yeah.
Conrad, and the court port. I wonder if those names on it too.
What I will say, because like all of us, we have no information to point direct fingers at anyone, with these fines. However, what is definitely concerning to me personally is that Jamaica have become very, very active in terms of transshipment of cocaine over the last year or 2 years. And certainly remember now that that's one of the things that basically we gotten rid of. Well, it was down to a minimum, but all of a sudden, the space called Jamaica has become very, very active in terms of, coke, as we're seeing. I think just last week, there was a bust of over $1 billion again. And it begs the question as to what exactly is happening. I won't go any further than that, just to say that I am noticing that the space called Jamaica has become very, very active as it relates to illicit drugs passing through our borders.
But Conrad, what me say though? All right, you have an airport, man, the airport, the one in Mobile there, Sangster, and then the third one, where them say international airport, we call it the Coke Port. If you have such a big boss as a prime minister, you don't feel someone at the prime minister, the national security minister, or the police commissioner, nobody make a speech on it, brother? None?
Wayne, definitely I expect to hear much, much more from the persons who are that you just mentioned, i.e. the PM, the Commissioner of Police, and certainly the Minister of National Security.
But
I would expect to hear from them. But all I'm saying is that it must be noted that the space has become very, very active indeed.
But gentlemen, how on earth you expect to hear something from a Prime Minister and a Minister of National Security and a Commissioner of, Jeffrey don't say it, police, when they do not respect the people of the country who put them there? You expect me to say anything?
But this is a public interest, And I'm a member, it have consequences on the country itself, Because
in no other modern democracy, Wayne, can a prime minister be silent about 2 drugs busts? One caught at sea, one at Ian International Airport, and he says nothing about it. In which modern democracy can this happen? We're becoming a banana republic in this country.
My colleague, people say that I speak guarded, but I don't know that the Prime Minister, the Minister of National Security, and the Commissioner don't respect the Jamaican people. And as Wayne said, and you have been saying, all of us are saying that certainly we need to hear much, much more from the people in authority. It goes without saying, because at least when you hear those persons in officialdom comes out and says something, then certainly you say, listen, at least they're acknowledging that something is going awry in those areas. And what it does, when you don't hear anything from them and see any movements appreciably when you find those big boss, but when the little man underground You go under his bed downtown when he hurled two words after the police, after the prime minister, a senior superintendent of police, in the form of Mr. McGregor, was able to go down and take that youth from under his bed. It begs the question about the whole business of corruption and the continued operation of the two Jamaica. And with that, I really want to segue as we move into one of the issues that I'm looking at.
Hold on for me.
Go ahead.
Hold on. The question must be asked. The Prime Minister came to Washington. Mm-hmm. In any other modern democracy, go back to Jamaica. Would he address the Jamaican people about what he went to Washington about?
Well, let me jump in and say something about that.
Hold on a minute for me, sir. You are talking about you don't have any respect for the people of Jamaica. As a prime example, they have no respect for us.
All right, let me just say this. Hold on one second.
Before you come in, I gotta finish one thing. The Prime Minister go a lot of places. The Prime Minister go a lot of places that them don't even say, I seen collect 21 million the other day from the Vice President.
Yeah.
For donate, for do something so for the youth and attack youth. And them come back. Where's the money? He don't even explain to us. So this Prime Minister have a thing where he does do him one thing.
Well, let me ask this. Hold on one second.
Taxpayers' money might use fly out and come in back.
Well, hold on. Let me ask you. Let me direct this question. Let me direct this question to Conrad, and I'll direct it to all of you. But let me start with him. Do you think that what we are seeing, the as you described, where messages should be sent out to the public and it's not going out, and then when we don't hear from people who are responsible for certain portfolios, do you think it's incompetence or do you think it's by design? And if it's by design, what's the basis? What's behind it?
The easy answers that I could say is a little of both. But I think a lot of it is by design, because these guys who are in position, they're no fools. These are learned people. So for them not to understand the import of going on a trip in the name of Jamaica and come back and report to the Jamaican people. Remember, and it's not the first. We've seen this continue over the years with the Prime Minister. He went to Israel and signed off on some security. And when we asked questions about it, we were stonewalled. And we have not gotten that kind of response from the PM. And we have to call on the Fourth Estate, the media in Jamaica, to ask these tough questions. We're doing it here and we do it elsewhere, but we need that kind of collective voice. So to answer your question, Derek, Mr. Rattigan, I think it's contempt in the main for the Jamaican people, which really dovetail into what our friend Jeffrey is saying, lack of respect for the people. But I want to be a little more generous to our leader.
Well, no, let me ask Mr. Tavares a question then. Is it contempt, design, or incompetence that we're witnessing?
I didn't hear you.
Are we witnessing the behavior of the government in terms of not informing the public? And then we also have the Prime Minister taking over other ministers' portfolio. Is that contempt? Is it by design? Or is it incompetence?
Incompetence. You ever hear this song say fire there, moose still and take a cold breeze?
Yeah, I've heard it.
Okay.
Mr. Lonesome.
Sorry, before Lonesome come in. Well, Jeffrey, you spring on another part to the question there just now. Rebel, you spring on another part to the question just now, where you mentioned about taking over other people's portfolio. Well, certainly, that part is certainly incompetence. That's incompetence, because if you have a minister and the Prime Minister have to be taking over his portfolio, then certainly it is incompetence, and the Prime Minister should do the right thing and fire that minister.
Well, but how? Okay.
No. Go ahead.
Do you think the Prime Minister of Jamaica is going to ask the Minister of National Security to go? He will never ask the Minister of National Security to go. Hold on.
Jeffrey, promote him. A matter of fact, after the 2020 election, him give him an next title, Deputy Prime Minister. So that
and deputy minister of
for not
Deputy
doing
Minister of
nothing.
Defense.
You award him for not doing nothing.
Here you go.
The question is
so
why?
What he's doing?
Why?
He's doing the job as the Minister of National Security, but he is not doing a good job either.
That's
the
true.
Two of them are incompetent.
Of course.
Well,
and
let me say,
him get that on him, you know. Remember, you're Deputy Prime Minister, but him acting at that portfolio. You ever see the National Security Minister acting in the Deputy Prime Minister portfolio? You see him traveling out. Me not see him in Canada. Me not see him in US. Me not see him in UK.
Only in St. Lucia he can go.
All right, hold on one second. Well, Renegade, I'd like to pose a question to you as well. Is it incompetence, contempt, or design? Why we're seeing this type of behavior?
All in one. And dictatorship behind it too, you know. All in one. You understand? Because and the next thing we can add the next thing to that photo happen. To make you feel like them doing something, but them not doing nothing. You understand?
For example, Mr. Rattigan, when he said photoshopping,
photo
up, rather. You know that Mass Joe don't have a proper house. You go there, take pity how the house all and brought down. And when you don't hand over a brand new house to him, the whole of all the media station in Jamaica is there.
Mm-hmm.
What is that showing you?
Say them want trick us, say them do work. Same thing that happened in a Jubilee the other day. When you see the state minister of health, we're going to take a 14-year-old child picture and drink it. And when they come out and talk about it, you know, when the ministry come out and say, oh, she never know she was 14. And then them said, remember the paper, write it up in us, say she'll go back to school. And we get permission from our mother. So if you get permission and share the head for these hospital, then you want to brief her before she come there. You want to brief her, Conrad?
Mm-hmm.
Of course. What I can tell, when I say this to you, I am in touch with persons who work with particular company that was a part of the handout, and per individual was elsewhere handing out. And the first thing he did when he saw one of the young lady, one person when this was the location of the country, because I don't want to give away the person. The person asked the question, how old are you? That was his first question. So the fact of the matter is that is something that the minister, the junior minister should have asked. In addition to that, the junior minister made the point that the parent, that is to say, the mother of the young lady, the 14-year-old, gave permission. Well, the minister herself basically blundered in that regard, because she, at that time now, should be advising the parent along this trajectory to say, no, you know, we should not be going that road. But it's as you go along,
go bad, Conrad. That's the photo up go bad. But I can tell you why they do that, right? When they do that, they want to say, okay, this young lady, she get pregnant, have two baby. She baby herself, but she going to go back to school. It have a look good if we under the gift. But it backfired because we are big people, and when we see this, we say, no, this have no taste. This
gentlemen, let us not drift away from the topic that we were on before, do we?
Yes.
You don't want to be all over the place. Mr. Rattigan?
Well, what we're going to do is, because we're coming up on the commercial break right now. So what we're going to do is we're going to take a quick commercial break, and we'll be back. And when we get back, what I'd like to do is to discuss, because it's a hot topic right now, is to discuss the Prime Minister's visit to the United States to meet with law enforcement and State Department officials. That should be a very, very interesting and hot topic to share, to discuss and share with our listening and viewing audience. All right, folks, we're back. So the fireman is missing.
Indeed, I'm here.
Okay. No, one of the things that we talked about before our break was
Moderator,
I beg your pardon?
before you go into that topic, I really would want you to allow me a few minutes just to say something, because I don't know that I'm going to be staying with you for the entire program this afternoon because of a commitment.
The floor is yours, so we'd like to
All
see
right.
you.
Good. So thanks for welcoming us back here and the program, one of your number one Saturday afternoon fix, of course, hosted by our learned friend and brother, the rebel himself, Mr. Rattigan. And of course, I didn't get the opportunity to greet my friend and brother, Wayne Lonesome, the renegade himself. And of course, our defender, the people's defender, the make we talk man.
Yes, poor people defender. Defending the poor, pauperizing people from the people of the Vumva and the Vumva.
But you know what? As Jeffrey would say, he prefaces a lot of things by saying the question must be asked. Well, this question I'm going to ask you, Conrad, because I know you can't stay with us for the duration of the program. But let me ask you this, right? We've been talking about the action.
No man, I'm going to tell you, I'm not staying long because I want us to.
Right. But let me just get to this because I need you to. I'm going to direct this question to you again first, right?
Right.
We've talked about the violations committed by the present government every time they have a state of emergency. But one of the things that we haven't discussed at all, and we have to be fair, is this. The opposition party, well, first let me go back and say, whenever you have a state of emergency, based on the law and the Constitution, it lasts up to 14 days.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Now, they need a two-thirds vote in the parliament to extend it, and it can be extended. Right, and it's extended. It's extended up to 90 days. Right? Now, if you look at it realistically, the government can do it for 14 days, and then both opposition and government can do it for an extended 90-day period. Now, I'm looking at a chart here, and I see where the government through the Governor General, called for the state of emergency on several occasions, and then the opposition signed on to the extension. So the government called for 14 days, the opposition signed on with them for an extra 90 days. Is there, and this is directed to all of you, but let me start with my good friend, the fireman. Is there any blame that can be laid at the feet of the opposition for extending the state of emergency?
Excellent question. But let me respond this way. There are times when you strike a compromise. And I think that's what the opposition did, is primarily when it was led by Dr. Peter Phillips, where you will hear them, they spend hours in the parliament. They would make the point, they will say, listen, this, and they will lay out the numbers. They will even say, listen, we're not seeing where the numbers are basically going down to justify the call, the continuation for the state of emergency. I must say, I believe that what the opposition did was to play a little bit of politics there, to say that, listen, they don't want to have the blame on their shoulder from the people, to say, listen, we did not go along with the opposition, and hence a lot of people die as a result of the state of emergency not in place. Because if you notice, even though the opposition has given the government the latitude, that is still the argument that they're using. From day one, I must say that there was a more forceful approach in the opposition by Peter Bunting, the spokesperson and national security, and indeed Mark Golden, in terms of sticking to their guns in a tighter way. And what we're seeing now is that coming to fusion under Mark Golden's leadership. So I'm not sure if I'm prepared to say that there are you want to blame them. But so that's my short answer.
Let me interject. Let me interject. Hold that point. Let me interject. Let's not use the word blame, okay? Let's use the word disingenuous. Is it disingenuous then for the opposition at this point to say we do not agree with the state of emergency because it's violative of people's rights? When I'm looking at the numbers here, they did it more than 6 times. They signed on to this more than 6 times. So is it disingenuous for them to take that position now as if they're suddenly they have a realization that it was, it's wrong. But they didn't have it when they were signing on.
Hold on, Conrad. Make I tell you what happened. You see, hold on. This is where them coming with politics, because when you come with the Zozo and you tell me it's gonna work, you have an opposition. If the opposition don't move, you have the PSOG come out on you. Everybody come out on you like you knock them down. No, you gotta give them a try for just if it's gonna work or not work. That's why them sign on, because Dr. Peter Phillips argue about it. He was against sign on.
Yeah, but you sign on more. But Wayne and Conrad, you're next. You're up next, Conrad. Hold on 1 second, Conrad. You're up next.
In addition
Conrad, hold on 1 second. Hold on. I understand that the point you just made, Wayne, and that was conferred by Conrad. But when you do this more than 6 times, when you do this more than 6 times, I mean, how many times should it take before you realize that, hey, you know what? We can't play this game any longer.
No,
go ahead.
They'll be hypocritical.
Hold on, quickly. Ratty, the truth is that there was a litany of explanation that was given as to why they signed on it. In addition to that, you also have to make the separation now. You have a new leader of opposition.
Thank you.
Basically, so you can't use the word disingenuous to deal with this leader of opposition, because he is clearly putting his foot down to say, listen, this is the direction I'm going. I am clearly not in support with this. Being a legal person himself, he is saying that, listen, he's not going along that trajectory. And you have to separate the two. So I wouldn't use the term disingenuous to describe them. However, legally speaking across the board, if they're saying that, listen, this is the legal position, maybe they should have fleshed that out from earlier and stuck to their guns.
Okay, Jeffrey, go ahead, please.
They are being hypocritical here. The fact of the matter is, why does it take them such a long time for them to realize that this thing has been going on with them, having this state of emergency, continuing? And it's now they're going to say X, Q, Y, Z. As what Mr. Rattigan is saying, they should have looking at freedom.
No, hold on, let him finish. Let him finish. Hold on, wait. No, gentlemen. No, Wayne.
Talking this kind of way, then you find out, because we are set a trap. And when
hold on, Wayne. The program name Reason with Rattigan. We are Reason. Make Jeffrey finish him point, man, and then you go to you. Go ahead, Jeffrey.
Yes.
I forget what I was going to say.
No, you forget.
Just look in my brain.
All right, go ahead.
Disingenuous. But let me tell you again, Jeffrey, you have a different leader. When I see it this way, I tell you, Dr. Peter Phillips, I watch them. I hear him talk to this. I'm a matter of fact, he have so much member even at the Senate. Never even want to vote for it, but him at the leader. That's why them go with it, because them say, listen, that and that. One name Lambert Brown and some other one. Them burn it out all the time.
You get signed for it?
Burn it out.
No, you get signed for it?
If the leader say, listen, we're going to do it this time, and we're not going to X because we don't see what and what. So them go through. No, we have a different leader. We have a matter of fact, remember, 2020 you have an election. And you have a different leader coming in now. And the leader has said, no, listen, it's not working. I'm going to show you why it not work. Okay. We don't. All right. Them come and say.
Hold on, Wayne, hold a minute.
No, let him finish, Jeff. Make him finish and then you jump in. Go ahead, finish your point.
Them come with state of emergency 2010. We know why them come with it. Because them come with man at Felton Philip and them intervene when them is supposed to intervene and make more than 100 people dead. Then them terrorize 75. And how much people mime up, how much people smash up, right? And that was that. Okay? Now give some figures without state of emergency.
Okay.
Right? All right. Well, make a look on 2014 without state of emergency. And like the Prime Minister saying, spend the most money in our history for fight crime. 170 billion, but me not see where that turn. Right? In a 2014, how much was the murder toll? 1,005. So if you can't beat 1,005 with a state of emergency, then them have drama in a 2020 and 2021. Line me tell. And how much was the murder toll? 1,301 and then 1,464. And now we pass it with this commissioner, with this national security minister, and you tell me say it work, and still I use state of emergency and I tell me foolishness. Come on now. But this is what them do and try to fling a blame. We know the foolishness. Them is failure, brother. Straight failure.
I agree with what you're saying, Wayne, because the fact of the matter is that when you look at the 4 years under Bunting, the 4 years, the highest number under Bunting is lower than the highest number under this government. However, I think that the point that that Rattigan is trying to flesh out is why the PNP went along with the state of emergency for such a protracted period of time. But as we said, all of us say we listen, we hear the explanation. It was, as a matter of fact, people were ready to pounce and to cut the opposition throat. And they basically go along with them. So what happened now is that they allow it to outrun its usefulness, and they see that it's not working. And say, listen, we have to draw a line in the sand. We're not going to continue to be party to something that is taking away the people's right. In addition to that, remember now that the court would have ruled later in the day. And as a result of that, they use that to buttress their point.
All right. Let's go to Conrad. You were saying something. You said you have a point. You want a few minutes to talk about something before.
All right. I just want to just highlight a point of corruption or alleged corruption in 2022. And the reason why I'm going there is because it impacts one of the ministry that is supposed to be that ministry that guide our future, the Ministry of Education. That issue that forces the acting permanent secretary, Mrs. Dr. Grace McLean, to go on leave. She is still on leave, and what we're hearing out of that ministry is that we have about 3 permanent secretaries that are being paid. Because the person who had the position before her, there is a court issue going on. He's being paid as a PS. And Grace McLean, while on leave now, she is being paid as a PS. And the acting PS is also being paid. So what we're seeing now is a grand paying out of the treasury. And we have no idea as to when this matter will come to a close. It's also important to note that there were other connections that was mentioned in terms of alleged corruption with person in close proximity to the acting PS, Dr. McLean. And all I'm putting on the table is that we need to have some closure on a lot of these issues, up to include the situation with Minister Uriel Reid, and of course the former president for CMU, the councillor, the sitting councillor, JLP councillor down there in St. Anne. And we are saying that we are coming to the close of 2022. So let's serve notice on the government that we need to see these things. And indeed the judiciary. We have to...
And the opposition too.
And the opposition too, I agree with you. Well, I agree with you. I don't know about dead, but I expect the opposition to push some more energy. I wouldn't describe them as dead, but I expect, and I'm sure that Wayne probably agree with me, expect more energy from them.
Something. 1 a.m. Because let me tell you, I don't drop off of my ear, one government at a time. So I don't do distraction. Me hold government accountable because when me hold government, I them spend people's money, brother. So when you are the opposition, I tell you before, you are the opposition too. And we have to talk out. A matter of fact, when Andrew, when they were in opposition, them tell us for hold people accountable. And that's me I do.
Yeah.
You understand? So my thing is not to do distraction, but for hold them accountable.
That's a fair point. That's a fair point.
Good point.
Let me just say that I happened to watch the town hall meeting with Favour Williams, the Minister of Education, up at the Jamaica College. I think it was several months ago. Mm-hmm. And it was one of the poorest examples I've ever seen in a public forum where a minister tried to deliver a message to the audience about her portfolio. It was beyond poor. In fact, when every time she was asked a question, the Prime Minister had to jump in. Again, see, he had to jump in. He had to jump in to answer the questions for her because she was lost. But then, you have to blame the Prime Minister for these things because he's the one selecting these people for these positions, right? So he's doing double time because he selected them. They're not doing a good job, and then he has to show up and help them to navigate the questions asked in a public forum. It's terrible. And you know what? We talk about children. Children are our future. And the question I ask, or as my good friend Jeffrey Tavares would say, the question must be asked, future what? I say that they're future criminals, and I'll tell you why. Because we're not providing the kind of education that they should get. We're not providing it. We allow teachers to leave.
You don't think you're a little bit too sharp there, Rattigan, because irrespective of what we're seeing in the system, we're seeing students that are performing very, very well and so on. So I wouldn't go with that blanket term that you just used.
Let me give an example. Over the last 6 years, I believe, and I'm subject to being fully corrected. Over the last 6 years, I think it's like 140 or something like that, 1,000 students who took CXCs. Right? Mm-hmm. And over that period, I think they said only 40-something thousand achieved 5 or more CXC subjects. Mm-hmm. Now you need 5 subjects to join the JCF, and you must have maths and English. That's a requirement they're asking, right? So now the question is, if let's say 140, and you only have like 50 students who achieve that level, that they can get a job in the police or elsewhere, you have 100,000. You have 100,000 students now that are doing what? The question is this, and I've heard it made by a politician in Jamaica. And it's a very good point. He said, "Look, the pool of qualified candidates for the police. You're talking if it's 140,000. You're talking the 40,000 who passed. The pool for the gangs, that's 100,000." So my argument is that if you don't have the teachers in there, I'm not saying that Jamaicans aren't bright, aren't smart, and not achieving. All I'm saying is that we could be a lot further ahead than where we are, except for the shortcomings and the short-sightedness of the government.
And just quickly, that is why I'm saying to you, that's why I said that, listen, there's absolutely no doubt that the ground for recruiting in the criminal world is expanding more and more, based on the argument that you have made. However, we must also point out to the fact that we have seen where a lot of our students are matriculating and coming through the system in flying colors. So I just want to add a little bit.
And I agree with you. All I'm saying is that the numbers could be higher, but for the fact that we're not doing what we should be doing to educate our children. And you brought up a point about them thief, the bulla money, where, because children can't learn by empty stomach, right? And you're supposed to provide nutrition, food for them, and that money, somehow the money gone. And then we have somebody inside there, and we have somebody
nutritional holdings company.
And then we have somebody who's leading that ministry. She's clueless. She has no idea what she's doing. And if you don't believe me, listeners, if you don't believe me, go listen. It's on YouTube. Go listen to her town hall meeting at Jamaica College this year where the Prime Minister was in attendance. The Prime Minister couldn't leave. In fact, they said, at one point they said the Prime Minister has to leave to go to another function. And it's like the man said, no, me can't leave this woman herself because she don't know what she do, right? So we have a huge problem there. But anything else you want to say before we move to the Prime Minister's trip to Jamaica?
The huge problem, all on the convert. All right, so any country who put kids and old people last is a failed state, brother.
Yep.
When you the other day I just show a little child, no more than 7, 8, and Waterloo Road, a white car glass after 8 in the night. After 8. If a policeman take that thing and send come give me, Yeah, after 8. We don't see me robber nothing but a baby that, Baby. I remember, Jamaica also up the road, King's House up the road. A lot of people them drive past him. So any country who put the kids them last, you know what Mr. School are doing in Jamaica? But it can't do in Canada and nowhere else in a developed world. When the kids them reach a school late, them lock them out. Even about 5 minutes later, lock out.
Exactly, and something that don't make any sense.
It can't make sense, no sense. So them use the bus up. Them not go back home. You never know if a gunshot or fire why them reach later a bus or something. You understand? You lock them out. In a developed country, look for the kids.
When we saw a 14-year-old just gave birth to a twin, we understand that the father for those babies is a young boy, youngster himself. You know, that's what you just spoke of, what you just talked about. That could have been what created that pregnancy. You lock them out of school and then find time to go basically cuddle up. Let's talk the truth.
You understand? We have to do something. We have to have something for them. Any country put the kids them last a failed state, brother. You can't say that in America and then where? Come on now.
Well, any country have a minister of education who can't give a proper press conference or proper forum. Anyway, Jeffrey, shut him out.
All right, listen.
I think, Rattigan, if I may just put something on the table, because you have some, you say you want to discuss the travel, but there's also something that we probably can get into. 2023 coming, the date that is set for the local government election is February. If we have time, we probably can touch on that. I'm trying to see how long I can spend with you guys, because I'm actually waiting a call. So as soon as I get that,
you're not going anywhere, man. Stay because you are the next
important. The people of Jamaica need to hear from you. You're a premier. You're one of the premier broadcasters, journalists in Jamaica, and so I think it would be a disservice for you to leave us in the lurch like this. You have to stay and complete the program. But having said that, let me segue to the Prime Minister.
Wait. You see what I'm trying to say now?
But listen, let's talk about what happened is that it's made the rounds over the last couple of days. People have been talking about the Prime Minister's trip to the US. And so Jeffrey, I'll put you on the spot. What do you think about the Prime Minister's trip when he came to America to ask law enforcement officials to help with the crime problem in Jamaica? Particularly, he said he wanted to have them help in terms of he identified people here that he wanted them to investigate, arrest, prosecute, and jail for sending weapons to Jamaica. What's your take on that?
My take on it is a waste of taxpayers' money. The Prime Minister has the ambassador to Jamaica from the United States at his arm's reach by a telephone call. The Prime Minister could have called the ambassador and said, Ambassador, I want to talk to some people in Washington pertaining to crime and everything else and drug trafficking in Jamaica. The ambassador himself, because there's people at the American Embassy from the CIA, the FBI, Homeland Security, everything you can think of is at the American Embassy in Jamaica.
Mm-hmm.
And Prime Minister Andrew Holness, along with the Minister of National Security and the Commissioner of Police, could have reached out to the American ambassador and say XQYZ. And the ambassador could have a Zoom meeting. The Prime Minister went to Washington for something else.
And pray tell, what is that? What do you think that something else is?
What I want to say, I can't say it on here.
All right, don't say it. Conrad, your take on it, sir.
All right, good. You know, I think Defender hit some nerve there in terms of the colossus waste of time, waste of money for this trip. And I want to pause Mr. Rattigan. And if you note, I'm referring to you as Mr. Rattigan, counsel on this occasion. I really want to pause to commend you for the rounds that you have been doing in terms of the interviews, and certainly to highlight the colossus failure of that town hall meeting, and also to start the ball roll in terms of highlighting to the Jamaican people, both at home here and in the diaspora, the colossus waste of time, waste of money, and indeed a better outcome that could be achieved had they gone the route of engaging the embassy in Jamaica. You also point out to us that based on your experience as a senior FBI man, a supervisor indeed, and someone who basically had managerial portfolio in various regions, who understand how to move around the block and back as it relates to the FBI and national security. You said that what you saw there was certainly a low-level meeting because you don't engage top FBI and law enforcement official in our town hall setting. So I want to commend you for highlight that, educate us, and point out those facts. And I must tell you, sir, that those voice clips, those clips have been doing the rounds in Jamaica here, and they have gone viral. Congratulations, sir.
Thank you,
for informing our Jamaican people.
Yeah, okay.
That said, I just want to say that remind people about the continued tumult and the hypocrisy of Mr. Holness. You know, when Mrs. Portia Simpson Miller was in government, meeting that was a must, such as the meeting that she went to China for, that create that children hospital that is now under construction in St. James, in proximity to Cornwall Regional, that I am on record calling for that hospital to name the Portia Simpson Miller Children's Hospital. And I'm making no bones about it. I'm watching Christopher Tufton in this one, and the government by extension.
Okay. Go ahead. Hold on. You finished? Go ahead. Finish your point.
Man, no, I'm just saying that he was giving Portia advice at the time that she should have Zoom meeting when it was very important for her to go to China and sit down in those meetings. Here is a grand opportunity where we have the FBI operatives, we have the ambassador, you can name them, Ratty. We have them. Where did Bruce Gilden say justice did not begin in Jamaica? Legally.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
We have them at legally.
Right.
And we waste thousands and thousands of US dollars for the Prime Minister and a team to make that trip. When we had people here was having a warm time in putting a chicken on their table for their Sunday dinner.
Okay.
I rest my case.
And that, so that was a photo upping, right? Photo up again. Because it was a town hall meeting with the Jamaica ambassador over there. She'd have someone there launching a book.
Yes.
So them have a forum, and then the other one, then put the Prime Minister and Jamaica Commissioner of Police with a lady in the background, and just them alone focus. That was listening. So that was a just straight photo upping. And I'm going to put something else on this now. So if you know 30 persons, right? Who doing the crime and them giving name. And the name you forgive. You forgive intelligence, you forgive other things back on them. Just them, that means them gonna give My name to and Jeffrey name. You can't just give name. You give me some other things. You can't just give name. Say you give name. No, go that alone. Them say them have 300 violence producers in Jamaica, right? Them know have 300, right? So tell me something. How much people them say the police killed since year? 100 and something. How much dead last year? 100 and odd. So in the last 3 years, and nearly 400 people police killed. You gotta tell me, say, none of the violence producers, none of that. I just pay innocent people dead by the police, get shot and killed by the police. So you
they will tell you that they have been recruited.
No, but 300 people same way. It don't make no sense, brother.
Well,
it don't make no sense.
Let me say this.
If you know them, Wayne, why not go for them? If you know them, why not go for them?
Well, let me say this. Let me jump in here and say this. That, I was flabbergasted when I saw that Jamaica has a top 200 criminals. In the FBI, we have a top 10. But in Jamaica, they have top 200. I don't know what the hell that is. You know what I mean? You diminish the whole thing about that. But let me just say this about the meeting, and I'll double down on it. And for my listening audience in Jamaica, pay careful attention. Follow me, what I'm about to say now. When you have the leader of a country coming to the United States to discuss issues, serious issues, they don't discuss it in a forum where they gather everybody. They have some people from the FBI, some from ATF, some this, some that, some. That's not how it's done. If this was truly a high-level meeting, it would have been done with the FBI director by himself. Then he would have had one with ATF to deal with the guns. Then he would have had one with DEA to deal with the crime. Then he could have had his State Department meeting with Anthony Blinken, the Secretary of State, and so on and so forth. That's a high-level meeting. When you show up in a forum where you gather everybody, and I can tell you it worked. Somebody will say, you sit at FBI headquarters and they say, oh, the Jamaican Prime Minister is coming and everybody's gathering over there. And they say, oh yeah, send the DAD, send the Deputy Assistant Director, let him go. Then the Deputy Assistant Director, he has to come back. Now that title sounds fancy, DAD, but he's like 4 levels or 5 levels removed from the director. So he has to come and brief all the way up. He has to brief his director. They have to brief the executive assistant director. Then they have to go through somebody else. Then they get to the director. By the time they get to the director, the message is watered down. And there is what you need to do, and I've done it so many times, is you need to establish a relationship between the leader and these heads of departments. And by the way, the Prime Minister had no business coming to America to deal with crime issues. That should have been strictly within the province of the Minister of National Security. Exactly.
Why never fly?
Well, that's a good question. But then look who came with him. He brought with him a gentleman who was at 91% disapproval rating. No, the Americans, they knew this. So if I'm sitting across the table from him, right, representing the American side, I'm saying to myself, now, wait a minute. This guy, 91% of his people say that this guy is useless, that he's failing, he can't do the job. 91% disapproval rating. And now they're asking us to trust him and work with him. This is nonsense. This foolishness. Go ahead, Fireman.
But Mr. Rattigan, now you have just thrown a big elephant in the room. We have all been saying that Dr. Chang wasn't a part of the trip. And while other speculations are there, but could it very well be that because his disapproval rate was 93% on the negative side, the Prime Minister said, no, so I can't carry you.
No, I never say you have to throw a dinosaur in the room. Him can't come to North America, sir. No. He can't come to North America.
And also, based on what Mr. Rattigan is saying to us, the education that he's sharing with us this afternoon, it shows that had the meeting been arranged the proper way through the embassy here in Jamaica, where they did not have to leave the Jamaican side, the Minister of National Security, who is the proper person to sit in that meeting, could be a part of it.
Well, let me just add this. When I was assigned overseas, and I wasn't in the country, I set up some meetings for the police officials, and those meetings were set up for high-ranking officials, including the FBI director at FBI headquarters, not some central building at State Department where people come over. When look, what that told me is that the Prime Minister and the police commissioner, them are wear short pants, and them in a room with people who are wear long pants. That's how they're seen. That's exactly how they're seen. Rank, and I've said
Mr. Rattigan, Mr. Rattigan, I want you to just walk us through something here for our listeners, audience, and ourselves. You have been there, done that. How do you arrange such a meeting? What would it take? Walk us through that process.
Okay. Now, something like this, where you're coming to discuss crime. First of all, you would touch base with the embassy. And what would happen is that because the embassy has representatives from all of these agencies there in Jamaica. So if it's a low-level meeting, if it's something that you're asking for assistance, you could just simply pick up the phone, talk to the U.S. ambassador, and he would put you in touch with the head of that agency. Or you could just call the head of the agency, go through the telephone bank, and then you reach out to those persons. You would have a meeting in Kingston to discuss the issues. And then you'd say, okay, all right, fine. Now we need to go to Washington because this is serious. And now we're going to meet with the heads of agencies, not representatives, low-level representatives, but heads of agencies. Then you'd reach out to the protocol people, and then they would set the meetings up for you so that when you reach in Washington, you have one-on-one meetings, you have private meetings, you have meetings of substance. What can you say in a room with 20 people inside there? The U.S. government doesn't do business that way. If you're serious, they say, no. If you have something that you want to talk to the FBI about, you don't talk to the FBI in a room with all these other people. No, you go and you meet with the people at FBI headquarters, and that's how it's done, right? The other thing is that what would be strange for me is to see a prime minister coming to talk about crime, because the first thing I would say, where is the Minister of Interior or where is the Minister of National Security, right? And we've all been asking the question, where is he? He's absent. He's missing in action. And so I would say, well, wait a minute. I would have very little respect for a prime minister coming in to talk to me about crime, and he has a Minister of National Security. I would say, what's he doing here? This is not his place. And by the way, the ambassador set up a meeting for him to address an organization in Washington that deals mostly with terrorism matters. The prime minister showed up, and he was given 5 minutes to speak. He showed up late, and it was abundantly clear that he had no idea what this organization did. And the topics he raised, they were just ludicrous, right? What would have been better is to have the national security minister sit there with these guys, because these guys were law enforcement professionals discussing issues and resolutions. He showed up and he said, I want to talk about transnational organized gangs. Well, in America, we don't talk about transnational organized gangs. We talk about transnational organized crime. And the gangs fall underneath it. Yeah, because I was in charge of that unit in Washington.
Thank you.
Right? I was in charge of that unit. Right? So when I heard that, I said, this guy doesn't know what he's talking about. And then he said, I don't know if you guys, if you have a round table discussion, blah, blah. And I'm saying, that's inadequate preparation. He's supposed to know these things before showing up. So all in all I can say is that it was, again, he came here on the backs of the taxpayers. They paid for this trip. And this trip was absolute. The other thing, this is very important. I have to mention this. You don't come to the U.S. government, particularly the law enforcement and the intelligence services, and start blabber your mouth. I'm going over there and I'm going to take 30 names and I'm going to give them, and these names are people who are sending this and that and that and that. We cringe when we hear that. We're like, why is he talking to the public? He should be talking to us. He should be talking to us. So right away, you know what the FBI, I can tell you about the FBI because I was there for almost 30 years. I can tell you what they're saying. They're saying, we can't trust this guy. We can't trust this guy with any information. He chats too much. He's already talking what he's coming here to talk about. And now, even if we wanted to catch these people, those people have heard that he's coming here to talk to us about them, and they're gone in the wind. It's nonsense. Go ahead, Conrad, please.
But hold on, Conrad.
I know Jeffrey.
Jeffrey, go ahead, please. I'm sorry.
I'm coming up to Jeffrey.
But one may say that the Commissioner of Police represents the Minister of National Security. That's one. People may end up saying that.
So you have a 91% disapproval rating representing a 93%.
Can't be.
No, it cannot be.
No.
We know it cannot be.
Remember that the commissioner is policy while the commissioner is business.
Operational. It's operational.
Right.
Government is policy. It can't be.
No, but gentlemen, hold a minute there, Conrad.
Yeah.
I agree with you, you know. But a lot of people may be saying to themselves, what on earth is Rattigan, Conrad, Jeffrey, and Losum talking about? The man representing the Minister of National Security. Is it?
So we are correct them now. It can't be.
So we have to correct them.
Yes.
Conrad, go ahead.
Yes, Conrad.
Conrad, you can't hear?
The freeze of Conrad, so Conrad gone.
Conrad, him there, man. Conrad.
Ratty?
Yeah. So that meeting was a waste of money. It didn't have to happen. And if it had to happen, the wrong people came. And then when you come and you start run your mouth and all that stuff, these guys are saying, look, you have a 91 disapproval rating and you're running your mouth. We can't trust you. Right?
Well, you see, Rattigan. Oh no, the government to government, then don't even set up a meeting with Anthony Blinken. And that it's still because you need to talk to the government.
Right.
No, but hold on there.
Nothing at all like that, nothing.
Hold on there. No, with all fairness, he did meet with the Secretary of State at one point, you know.
No, not for this. No, man, that's a different thing, Gregory. That's a
He did, so I don't know what he spoke about.
Yes.
No, we don't know if they met in the hallway or they met outside or whatever. But
yes.
But the one thing we know that his primary purpose for coming was to deal with the crime issue. That's his primary.
This one, yes. This one.
That's his primary thing. And when he came, it just didn't work out. And now he's back there, and it's just ridiculous, because that's why I'm saying to you that the Prime Minister is also the crime minister, in the sense that he's representing the Minister of National Security, the office of the Minister of National Security, because I don't know why I have to say he's refusing to travel to the United States. I have to say that, because he has plenty of opportunities to come to the United States, and he hasn't. So I'm willing to bet money that when they do the cabinet shuffle, he will be removed. He will not be there. Which brings us to the question, who do you think should replace him?
Wow.
It is rumored around that a certain person will get it, but God help us if that person get it. God help Jamaica. If that person that is rumored around, and he wants to get the office of Minister of National Security, then that is the time he's going to automatically become Minister of National Insecurity.
It's rumored around.
Wayne, who you think should replace him? Well, let me go back to Jeffrey.
I think them should use a fresh face, you know. I don't want to use no one with, you know, these long time faces with, you know, they bring back a problem and all kind of thing. But I don't have no faith in none of them, you know. But them have a lot of fresh faces. They have 49 seats. 49.
62.
You can't find person use.
But do you have a name? Do you have somebody in mind?
Well, I did talk about one person, that young miss from St. Anne. You know what I talk about? I don't know a lot about her, you know. Her father died. Her name is Smith, right? Smith.
Yes.
They might have things say Marsha Smith. You know why I said use that person? Because I saw some people burn up some things that should not run off no money and so them Shaheen used to do this and this. But one person like that who knows, okay, it's not a handout thing. Or maybe do my job or do something, you know? So we need some people where, you know, young faces, where we not hear about how the certain little things yet. I don't know nothing else about her, you know. You understand? But we don't need them old faces that you put back around where them just move from ministry to ministry. They move from one ministry, how much money, what a thing gone, how much this, then you move them around, put them in the next ministry, and then come back and say, stop.
But Wayne,
brother, too much corruption, brother.
Wayne, yes, my honest opinion to all of this, and other people that say, Jeffrey, don't go there. Maybe you're going to tell me, say, Jeffrey, don't go there.
Yes.
I believe that the best person for that job is Robert Bobby Montague.
Best person for the job, I don't believe so, you know. Well,
all right, hold on a second. Well, why do you think so, Jeffrey? Make me hear. Why do you think that?
Why you think that? Because I'll tell you why.
I believe that Bobby Montague was doing a good job when he was Minister of National Security? The Federation chief could go and sit and talk to Bobby, to Minister Montague, Mr. Montague at that time. Could sit and talk to him. This one here now, because Rowan James come on my hold on. To show how petty the Minister of National Security is and how petty the Commissioner of Police is. The gentleman came on my program, and because I said they're Minister of National Security, they're going to call a meeting for that?
By the way, big up Rowan James. No. I'm listening. So big up Rowan James.
Yeah, we have to big him up. We have to big him up. We have to big him up. True crime fighter, dedicated public
Chairman
servant.
of the Police Federation, Corporal Rowan James. I lift my hat to you, sir. You are doing a great job. And one of the reasons why I keep on saying that they should give back Bobby Montague that job. Bobby Montague was trying his endeavor best, regardless of what people may say and regardless of what may be in the public domain about cars and all kind of bangarang.
And not it alone.
Hold on.
Finish.
I believe that if they give the job to anybody else who is out there talking and he wants the job, dog Nyama was supper in this country.
Yes, but what the difference? What me say now with Bobby Montague now? You know, he run through a lot of ministries, and every one of these ministries it always come with something, and him and him. We're tired of corruption, and that's what I try to get rid of. You have 49 of them in all. Use new faces. When them not, you understand? You know, hear them in a nothing at all. Use new faces, guide them.
Okay, then what they should have done then, if we don't want any old face with drag along, what they should do then is go to the Senate then. You have a Dr. Sapphire Longmore.
All right.
And maybe you should get Dr. Sapphire Longmore to be the Minister of National Security. Get rid of Harris Chung. Get rid of Delroy Truck. Because him not serve no purpose, no justice.
None at all.
Delroy Truck need to go.
Yes.
Well, let me just say this, that I don't know if former Minister Bobby Montague is interested in the job. I get the sense that he doesn't want to be involved in running a ministry, based on what I'm hearing. But you look at the bench, look at the team and look at the bench. And is there anyone there right now in the government? And when I say in the government, in the JLP, in Parliament, that you can say would have more experience than he has. Now, I know that he's a man who came out with the 5-pillar plan, which is based on the national security plan and so on and so forth. And now that's what they're trying to use. And I'm not defending him. All I'm saying is that he came up with something that is being used now. But if you read the plan, if you read it, it makes sense. It's just that the implementation is just not there, because we have somebody right now who doesn't understand what he's doing, which is Minister Chang. He doesn't understand it.
Yes.
And so we're having a problem there. So I'm saying, do you think that despite what the issues are with...
my brother, so even if you come up with a plan, right, and you use the plan, if the plan good, but I said don't, when you have a person, this and, mar with a lot of corruption and all kind of things and over different things, I wouldn't go back there. But him say Longmore, you said that lady? Yes, do that.
Dr. Sapphire Longmore.
Yes, do that.
I think what we need is to put a female touch on it.
Thank you. Yes.
Put a female touch on it then. If we don't, I will say give Robert Bobby Montague either the Minister of National Security or the Minister of Transport, but mainly the Minister of National Security. But if they don't want to give Bobby Montague that, get Dr. Sapphire Longmore, put her there. Jamaica is in crisis. The country is in crisis, and if we don't wake up in this country, then dog nyama supper. The country is going on a strip with soap. If we don't get corruption in this country, it can't be that our constitution allows the Prime Minister to name a commissioner of police? Why is it?
Shouldn't be. Should not be, brother.
That the police federation can't name the commissioner of police? Can I continue like this in this country?
Can be.
We need to wake up in this country and understand that Jamaica belongs to us. My famous word is this: we come there by labor plane, not by aeroplane. And we must wake up in this country and understand that Jamaica needs help.
You know what? When Peter Bunting was in charge of the Ministry of National Security, there was a point where he said that we needed divine intervention, and they bashed him with it. And now we see where people are asking for divine intervention for Minister Chang, and nobody's saying anything. You know, I've made it clear on my program that Minister Bartlett, who's doing a good job with tourism, that he should stay in his lane, because he started the other day, going on the slippery slope of trying to support Minister Chang. And I made a public appeal to him to say, listen, don't do it, because you're doing a decent job. You don't want to be tainted by this man, because this man has no clue, no idea what he's doing. And you, by seemingly aligning yourself with him, trying to support him, you might get tainted. It's not a good thing. So we're seeing all of these things and we're not seeing any results. So I don't even know, based on the people I'm looking at in the party right now, I don't even know if there's anybody there who can come aboard and say, okay, we're going to turn this thing around. I really don't know. What do you think?
No, but it's simple. It's not so hard, you know, because if you look back on the figure, I said look on the 2014 figures, when you have 1,005 murders, right? And it never have all these kind of things. They never spend so much money. You never hear all these kind of things. They never have these SOE, ZOZO, you know, the DMR and all kind of little things. And if you come and say you spend the most money and you do this and you do that, and you still, where you get with the end result is nearly 1,500 right now.
Mm-hmm.
And then we talk to some police and they're going to say two certain bodies in the count and everything, it more to never to 2,000.
Right.
That means you're not getting a result. And then if you listen to them, they might tell you, say, yes, the SOE working, we are doing something good. I believe the commissioner time for him go home. He must leave. He's not doing nothing. I believe the National Security Minister time for leave too. You need a more than cabinet reshuffle right now.
So why is it that you think? Because of everything that we've been talking about, I mean, it's no secret that the Prime Minister is hearing this. Why do you think that he has refused to? In fact, not only refused, he increased the wages of the police commissioner. His wages. He's the highest paid police commissioner in the history of the JCF. Why do you think that he's refused? Why do you think he's refused to remove him?
I don't know. It's like, as I said, the man turned the thing in our police state. The Prime Minister turned it in our police state. Him stubborn. Him like, you know, the dictator. You know, play a dictator role because, you know, freedom of speech, we have to talk, you know, what they our mind.
Right.
Because I'm going to alone, me see. And I'm friend. So it's like, you know, I'm more nepotism and cronyism, and your friend, you drop them in a something, you don't want to move him, and him line himself with people more loyal to him. You understand? Mm-hmm. Because that commissioner is stand up in the way of anything. Because remember, you know, the police should have separated from government. That means if you do something wrong, I could have you the Prime Minister, them send and investigate you, and if you get charged, you get charged. And the film watch with whom I've thrown him. You know, so nobody can get charged. Don't you see a minister already break the drama and I know them not get charged? You see the DPP are charged anybody. All kind of things that happen. So it's like you run a police state now in Jamaica. And it's wrong. And right. then him advise the police. Him advise the Prime Minister for use the soldier them as police. Give them police powers. This is the same commissioner I need for go where I need for move. They need to remove him. And the
listen, we're coming up on it. Well, hold on a second. Hold that thought. We're coming up at top of the hour and we have to take a commercial break. So please, folks, stay with us. We'll see you on the other side of the commercial break for our last hour.
From all what you have been saying, it's not just the executive here in Jamaica that seems to have blundered and botched this whole meeting with the American law enforcement, and by extension, the American government. It seems as if we have a poor job was also done by the ambassador herself, Ms. Audrey Marks. What's your response?
Regarding Miss Audrey Marks, let me see something here. I'm trying to see if I can. Apparently, the technology failed me here. I can't get you guys back on with me, but that's fine. People know who I am. I'd much rather they see you guys because you guys are much more of a. Okay, Kevin is working on this. No. Kevin just tell me that he's working on this thing right now.
Okay.
Kevin, if you can, link me up with the guest, please, because I'm if I switch over to the other side, the people only see me as opposed to them. I cannot link both of them. So if you're hearing me, fine. Yes, the question was Audrey Marks, that she did a poor job at setting.
Based on your summation, because what we've seen, for example, you mentioned that additional meeting, that different meeting with the Prime Minister, that the Prime Minister was late, went in unaware, as if, it was just kind of the briefing that was supposed to come from the ambassador and her staff as to how it should have been done. Seems as if it was inappropriately done. I don't know. I'm just making the point based on what you had outlined.
Yes. Because what would happen is simply this: like if my director, the FBI director, was visiting, what I would do is I would set up all the meetings. I would do a briefing book, and so when upon his landing, I would meet him at the airport, and I would either brief him on the way to his meeting if we had to go from the airport to a meeting, or if there was time. Then what would happen is we'd go back to the embassy where we had secure space where we could talk secret stuff and not worry about it. And what I would do is I'd brief him about the meetings, I'd brief him about the individuals, I'd brief him about the issues, and I'd brief him about the way forward. So there should be no mistakes there. He shouldn't be, as I said, buck shuffle. He should not buck shuffle. He would know the issues cold, right? Now, go ahead.
And in this case, that's sole responsibility. I want to educate our people. In this case, this sole responsibility would be in the lap of the ambassador, Mrs. Marks.
Yes, indeed. Of course, she's in charge of the overseas representation in the U.S. Yeah. So that's squarely within her bailiwick. So if that didn't happen, then she's to blame. And I can tell you right now that, and I'll say it again, I think she's doing a very, very poor job in the U.S. She parades around, and there is no substance there. There is no depth. She's, to quote one infamous politician, she's low energy. She's lightweight.
A square peg in a round hole.
Yes, indeed. I'm not impressed with her. In fact, some of the things that she's done, I'm depressed. So that's not the way it's done, though. That's not the way it's done. The way it's done when your principal shows up, I mean, you're supposed to be on top of your game. You spend because these meetings they don't happen overnight. They just, and I tell you what, the Americans who met in that room with him, they were more briefed about him than he was about them, because they were acutely aware of his past. And then when I say past, they're talking about his political past, his social past, his financial past, everything that there is to know about him, because they don't meet with you. You just don't walk off the street and say, oh, we have a meeting here. It doesn't work like that. People take time and they put the energy into this thing and the effort, and they have a briefing book. So when you, by the time you get to that room, they already know everything that there is to know about you.
Good. Let me just double down a bit here with our audience. Just say that, listen, this is indeed what you're getting this afternoon is a teaching moment. We have the host of this program here, Mr. Wilfred Rattigan. He's not speaking from the seat of his pants. He's speaking from head knowledge.
Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. I've done these meetings I've done them in the U.S. when we used to, people from overseas used to come to get briefed about terrorism issues and intelligence issues. And I've done them overseas. I've done them with the CT group. I've done them in the Fusion Center group. I've done them all over. I can do this with my eyes closed, right? And from what I saw, he was poorly served. But I'm not surprised because he shouldn't have been here. That's, we've said this a million times. He shouldn't have been here. But whether he should or shouldn't, he should have been prepared. He should have been prepared. And he wasn't. He should have said to her, hold on 1 second, Jeffrey. You know what he should have said to her? He should have said, wait a minute. He should have demanded, he should have said to her, I want to sit down with the FBI director because this issue is of utmost importance and I have to sit with him. I can't sit in a room with mid-level or even upper-level management, but not top-level management, right? Because
so based on that, Mr. Rattigan, do you expect Ambassador Marks to be returning to Kingston? Leaving Washington, returning to Kingston?
I don't expect that they will recall her, but she should, on her own volition. She should, for the sake of the Jamaican people and because of the poor job that she's doing, she should go back and resume her position as a successful businesswoman in Jamaica. That's what she should do. That's her forte. She's good at that. She's not good at this. Leave this to the career diplomats, the people who have gone through the system and they know what. How things function. They know what the protocols are. She's learning on the job, or better yet, she's asleep at the wheel.
Lightweight.
And you know what they say? When you're driving, when you're driving down the road, right, and you're speeding and you get to a T junction, don't go straight. Don't go straight. And that's where she is. She's going straight. Actually, she went straight. She went straight.
Accident.
Yeah, she went over the cliff. She went over the cliff with him, and she took him with her. Go left or right. Don't go straight.
Oh my God! I see Jeffrey trying to get in. Let's hear from the defender.
Mr. Rattigan and gentlemen, suppose that lady ambassador spoke to the PM, briefed the PM, and the PM, because of his arrogance, he didn't really take up what she was saying and didn't brief himself properly on it either. Have you ever thought about that, Mr. Rattigan?
Well, look, that it's possible that happened, but she should insist because she's there every day. I mean, that's what happened when the FBI director would come whenever I was in like Saudi Arabia or South Africa. They didn't come when I was in South Africa. But what happened? They depend on you because you're on the ground. So they depend on you to hold their hand and navigate through this system, right? Because they don't know the people and they really don't know what the issues are.
And that is why I keep on saying to you all, the Prime Minister of Jamaica went to Washington for something different.
Where you think him go for?
It cannot be said on public radio.
Okay, all right. Let me just throw this out to you guys, right? Let me just throw this out to my panelists here, and then give me your feedback and tell me what you think, right? The Governor General, as we know, what happened when Jamaica received or got its independence from Britain in 1962. Jamaica really wasn't independent. Jamaica was still, and to this day, dependent. Dependent. Because we kept we have the Westminster style of government, right? Which means that the Queen will, or the monarch, the king or the Queen will always be head of state, right? And because they can't be here as head of state, they have a position called Governor General, which is the representative of that person. Keep in mind, that Governor General, he does not represent the people of Jamaica. Even though he may be Jamaican, he represents the monarchy. Now, I'm going to read you some stuff here regarding the constitutional status and role of the Governor General. It says, the Governor General of Jamaica is appointed by Her Majesty the Queen, the King now.
King now, yeah.
Right. It says, the Governor General is the de facto head of state in Jamaica, as Her Majesty has vested all executive authority in Jamaica to the Governor General. All, not some, all executive authority. It says here that in Section 27 of the Constitution, it says, there shall be a Governor General of Jamaica who shall be appointed by Her Majesty and shall hold office during Her Majesty's pleasure and who shall be Her Majesty's representative in Jamaica. Then it goes on to say, the office of the Governor General is non-partisan and provides objective and independent guidance to the government of the day. That's the role, right?
Yes.
It says the Governor General convenes regular meetings with the Prime Minister and where necessary with members of the cabinet and leaders of the opposition.
Mhm.
Now, here we go with the legislative function. It says, each bill adopted by the parliament must, not may, not if you feel like, must be approved by the Governor General before it becomes the law of the land. No law can pass in Jamaica unless the Governor General signs off on it. Parliament cannot start without the Governor General. He must deliver his throne speech. If there's no throne speech, the Parliament can't open. He has to open it. Now let me go to the Constitution and tell you what it says. Right?
Mhm.
It says here that there shall be a parliament of Jamaica. This is part 1. This is chapter 5 of the Constitution, entitled Parliament. Part 1. It says, there shall be a parliament of Jamaica which shall consist of Her Majesty. That's the first entity, right, in our parliament, not the Prime Minister. Her Majesty, a Senate and a House of Representatives, right? Now, goes on to say, a bill shall not become law, and I just mentioned that, until the Governor General has assented to it. Right? And it says here, each session of Parliament shall be held at such place within Jamaica and shall commence at such time as the Governor General may by proclamation published in the Gazette appoint. So him going to tell them when them going to have Parliament and when Parliament going to take place and where. It doesn't have to be our garden house. It doesn't have to be there. He can say, I want it at my house. He has the power to do that. Right? And it says, the Governor General may at any time by proclamation published in the Gazette prorogue or dissolve Parliament. He can dissolve Parliament. Right? It says here, performance. It says, whenever the Prime Minister is unable, by reason of his illness or absence from Jamaica, to perform the functions of his office, the Governor General may, by instrument under the broad seal, authorize any other minister who's a member of the House. So even though you have a Deputy Prime Minister, right, the Governor General has the right to say, no, I don't want him in charge of it. And he can just put anybody he wants there. It's unlikely he's going to do it.
Parliamentarian.
Yeah, but he has the power to do it.
Mr. Rattigan, before I go any further, sir, you said that any bill that goes to Parliament have to be signed off by the GG.
Before it becomes law, yes.
Before it becomes law. Listen to this. The highway, I think it was Highway 2000. I can't remember, it was Highway 2000. When then Senator K.D. Knight was stopped on that highway, the highway wasn't that gazetted in the laws of Jamaica. And they stop him on the highway, some police stop him on the highway to give him ticket and say, no, I'm not accepting the ticket. You are illegally on this highway. You're not legal to be on the highway. In other words, the highway did not belong to the people of government of Jamaica. It was never signed over to the government and people of Jamaica at that time.
Uh-huh.
It was still for the Chinese. But yet, the JCF was on it, giving tickets.
Well, somebody should have brought that to the court's attention. But let me continue.
And he did.
Here. Let me continue here. It says that the Prime Minister shall keep the Governor General fully informed concerning the general conduct of the government of Jamaica, and shall furnish the Governor General with such information as he may request with respect to any particular matter relating to the government of Jamaica. So, you see what a real big man. The Prime Minister must keep the Governor General informed about what? General conduct of the government of Jamaica, and any matter that the Governor General wants to talk about, specific matters, he has to keep him informed, right? So, let me give you 2 more things and I'll give you the example. I'll say where I'm going.
So hold on, Mr. Rattigan. So the question must be asked then. Why is it that the GG is not questioning the SOE?
There is where we're going. That's where I'm going with this.
Yeah,
That's where I'm going with this. Now, in section 32, it says, where the governor, because they say he has to consult with the prime minister, and he has to consult in certain cases with the opposition. It says here, where the governor general is directed to exercise any function after consultation with any person or authority, he shall not be obliged to exercise that function in accordance with the advice of that person or authority. So even though him talk to the prime minister, and the prime minister might say, look, I think we should do this, he doesn't have to agree. That's his discretion. And then below that, it says that if he doesn't agree, or if he's supposed to do this and he doesn't do it, meaning the governor general, that the question whether he has so exercised that function shall not be inquired into in any court. So you can't take him to court, right? Now, let's get to the issue that Jeffrey raised. Now that we lay out the background as the power of the governor general. And there's more to it. There's more to it, but we'll just deal with that for now. Now, in his throne speech, he opens up parliament and then he says what the government is going to do for that year, for that fiscal year.
And he referred to them as my government.
Right. And one of the things that he did, he said that, and this is back in February of this year, he said that he agrees with the enhanced security measures implemented by the government because they have shown success. He said in 7 vulnerable communities currently declared as zones of special operations, cumulative incidents of murders declined by 63% and shootings declined by 77%. He said similarly, murders decreased by an average of 42% and shootings decreased by an average of 43% under states of public emergency. He said the SOEs that have been the main plank of the government's crime-fighting plan were derailed in November last year after the opposition withheld. No.
Repeat that again. The crime what? Fighting what?
He said the SOEs that have been the main plank of the government's crime-fighting plan were derailed in November. Right. No, here's the thing. Here's what. No, we can't do anything to the governor general in Jamaica. Nobody can do anything to him, but we can write to the king because there's a court order that says that the state of emergency is unconstitutional. We can write to the king and say, King, listen, we know that you're a man of integrity. We know you believe in good governance. We know that you believe in the rule of law, but your representative does not. He doesn't respect the courts in Jamaica. They have rendered a decision and it's on appeal. And because of that, they have to follow the lower court's decision. And they're not. And now he's coming out now and he's saying, I believe in the SOEs, I believe in this, I believe in that. The question I want to ask him is this. If the SOEs and Zozos, you notice nobody's talking about Zozos anymore because they can't afford it. Yeah, they can't afford it. But listen, if SOEs were so successful, why didn't they put it island-wide? Why not make it island-wide? If it's successful, why not make it island-wide?
Not only that, Mr. Rattigan. The question was asked by me at the town hall meeting with the Prime Minister in Washington. If the SOE is working, why is it that 2 people are gunned down on Maxfield Avenue in the same area that have the SOE?
Well, look, things can happen. So let's say that, it's just an anomaly. It just happened. The question then is, if it's successful, why not deploy it across the nation? And then that way, because going back to what Wayne said earlier, going back to where you said so earlier, Wayne, when you said, if it's successful, how come the murder rate higher this year than last year?
That is the whole point of view. If it's so successful, or you have each year it getting higher and higher. From you come in with the SOE. Without the SOE, you go 1,005. With the SOE and everything, now it gone up back. It just continue climbing, Jeffrey. Conrad, it continue climbing. And you have to miss a song.
Hold on.
You have 17 more people lost them life. The 28th, from the 28th of December. More now, gone over that, To the figures where them give us. Can we know it past that, right? 17 more family mourning. Okay? For over last year figures. Okay? And you say it's successful. Yeah. Them talking crap.
Hold on 1 second. Hold 1 second, Jeffrey and Connor. Let me just explain. Let me just say something here, right? Before they came up with this thing about Plan Secure Jamaica, the one that the Chang said that the government is prepared to spend $1.2 billion on it, and they started spending this from 2016, right?
Yes.
Now, let's go back from 2010 to 2015, that 5-year period. 7,063 people were murdered in Jamaica. And that is without SOE, without Plan Secure Jamaica, without Zozo. 7,063.
And if you want to do something for me, if you have the figure front of you, give me ear by ear.
All right. 2010, 1,428. 2011, 1,125. 2012, 1,097. 2013, 1,200. 2014, 1,005. 2015, 1,208.
Okay.
Right? No.
What 2016?
No, 2016, when this government took over in 2016, in early 2016.
Yes.
No, 1,350 for that year.
And then 2017 now.
2017, 1,616. Right?
And then it dropped again.
Then it dropped to 1,287. Then it went up to 1,332. Then it dropped to 1,301. Then last year it went up to 1,464. Now here's a problem. From 2010 to 2015, the government didn't have a Plan Secure Jamaica. They didn't have a $1.2 billion budget. They didn't have Zozos. They didn't have any of that. Only, I shouldn't say only, 7,063.
Right, 2010 and put start 2011 because a different administration.
All right. So even if you do that, it's 7,006. We did that. 7,063.
2012. From January 2012 to 2015. Tell me how much die in space of that gap.
From the fiscal year 2012.
Different administration, 2012 to 2015. Because someone want to work out something.
All right, 2012.
Tell me the figures.
All right, 1 second. 1097. 2012. 2013. 2014. You want me to stop at 2014 or go to 2015?
2015, because remember that administration coming in early 2016. So 2015. So you have to take them.
So the number is 4,510 people died.
Okay. And then the 2016 now to 2020. Remember the same administration, but we just want to see how much died in that space, right?
All right. So you want me to know
4 years.
So you want me to
Yes.
So you want me to 2016, right?
Yeah, to 2020 when the election, yes. And when the same administration continue, we just want to see through it, yeah.
All right. 1, 2, 8, 7. 1, 3, 3, 2. You go to 2020?
Yes.
Okay.
2020.
All right. 6,886 people died.
All right, so it gone up.
So you have 4,510 before, and then you have 6,000. No,
and then if you continue with the other 2 years, much in all that come up to?
If you add, well, then you'd have to add another 1,464, and this year it's almost 1,500. So it's gone way over. So the question then is,
for purpose of discussion, 3,000.
Yeah. So the question,
nearly 10,000.
right. So the question then is, how can you claim that? And if you read, I have all of them here now, all of his budget presentation to the Parliament, where he said, Plan Secure, Iman Chang, the Prime Minister Chang, where they said that it's in full effect. We're reaping benefits. We're doing this. We're doing that. But more people dying. And then listen to this. There's still, remember, a month ago or so, Senator Dan Webby said, listen, we gave you guys $95 billion to spend. And so far, you've spent only 17.5% of the budget.
Yes,
right.
Yes.
So,
yes.
Conrad, you have something to say?
He said, I think, Conrad, use it or lose it, right?
Yeah, use or lose it.
Yes. Use it or lose it.
Right.
So why them keep on doing this? Because them can spend it. I talk to people, but say, listen, use it or use it. This is what you call the SOE. You not forgive account how you spend the money, but it's used.
Right.
Absolutely. It's a part of, and these are the things that we need to basically call for proper auditing, because it's a way of really, entrenching the corruption. And you know what happened? While I'm not here, calling any name and accuse. But the fact is that people within the private sector know that when you have this thing going on, the sardine, the tin mackerel, the water, the whatever is coming from somebody, and a lot of money is pending. Well, certainly we're getting some bills that some amount of money is being spent. Yes. And we don't know exactly who are getting these contracts, but we know that people within the private sector getting these contracts. But I want to just look back quickly at the GG rules as Rattigan highlighted earlier. Well, first thing to begin with, we have seen over the years where, based on what Mr. Rattigan is saying, that the GG rule operate in a kind of bastard fashion. Mm-hmm. What do I mean by that? It's basically just a rubber stamp, because we have never heard, or maybe it's basically done in such secrecy, but we have never heard that the government had basically made any form of recommendation and the GG question it at all. True. The GG always ratify and rubber stamp it, as it were.
Someone puppet. Talk straight, it's a puppet. Me talk straight, it's a puppet. Yeah, man, that's it.
You don't want to talk straight, you know. You don't want to talk straight. You don't want to call them boom, bavana.
Then catch you, Conrad. Then catch you.
Hold on, please. Understand me, no man. Understand me, no man.
We are all in mainstream media.
We understand.
Why are you afraid to say boom, bavana, boom, bavana? Why are you afraid to call him a spade?
No, I'm not. You choose your words. I will use my words.
Yes, the people of the Vumba Van, the Vumba V.
There's one thing. Everybody have their own vocabulary. I'll use mine. All right? Good. So the question was asked about the island-wide state of emergency. The first thing, the answer that you get from that over and over is that the police force doesn't have the manpower to basically take on island-wide state of emergency. And what we're seeing with the limited use of the state of emergency is that you have what is described as a ballooning effect in police terms. Mm-hmm. So you cut off this, and no less a person than the head for the Manchester police said it the other day. He said that he was seeing an uptick in crime in Manchester because Manchester was buttressed by two parishes that have in state of emergency, Clarendon, and I don't remember if Centresbeth had or certainly Westmoreland. So what I'm saying is that those criminal elements, they are now finding safe haven or seeking to find safe haven in Manchester. And of course, one can understand that because we have seen the uptick in murder and breaking, robberies, all sorts of things taking place in Manchester at an unprecedented level. Mm. So, and that is why we are advocating, like the chairman for the Police Federation, we're advocating proximity policing, because what you're able to do now is to have a kind of mobile movements of your police officers, rather than having some of them sit at a point and basically asleep.
Mm-hmm. Till soldiers shoot themselves in the foot.
Absolutely. What we're fighting is the thing is really getting monotonous. People are being feeling fatigued, and persons inside the police force and the army tell me up to yesterday that what we're seeing that result in that shooting is fatigue.
Let me just give some breaking news.
Hold on here for me, Mr. Rattigan.
Go ahead, Jeffrey.
The question I want to ask this evening: the Prime Minister is the Minister of Defense. Can't the Chief of JDF and other people under her say to the PM, I don't think the army should be going out to fight this, because the army, our members of the JDF was not the word I'm using for looking for now. Trained in that manner. Can't they say that to him?
They can say
As a
anything.
matter of fact, hold on, as a matter of fact, the JDF nor the police force is not Andrew Holness force, It's the King force.
Mm-hmm. That's true. That's true. Let me. That's a good point. Let me throw something here. I'm getting some news here. Now, there's something called the Constabulary Act, and I'm hearing that the police commissioner, he doesn't really, under that act, he doesn't really have to account to the Prime Minister or the Minister of National Security, especially when it comes to spending his budget. He doesn't have to. And he doesn't have to account to them for anything, but it would be unwise for him not to do so. So
they're supposed to allocate the money and give it to him.
Yeah, and he can spend it, right.
It's supposed to be a separate entity.
Exactly.
Government money.
No.
So I'm supposed to do policing.
Right.
They lock up anybody who forget charged, whether they Prime Minister and thing, not some friend thing.
No.
Like what you see them are going with now.
No, let me give a shout out to the Police Federation and its outstanding chairman. And this is not because of any friendship or anything like that. It's just based on facts. He's doing yeoman's work. He and his GenSec, they're doing yeoman's work over there, fighting not only for their members but also for the people of Jamaica.
Mrs. Arlene McBean, yes?
Yes, Miss Arlene McBean. Big up to both of you. Now, I've been given the understanding that every year, somebody told me to go back and look at the budget. Every year, the police, the JCF, they give money back because they don't spend all the money that they were that was earmarked.
Allocated to them.
Yeah, allocated to them, right?
Why don't want uniform?
Right. Now, one of the things I've heard is that the police commissioner has the right, the unfettered right, unlimited right, unrestricted right to promote anyone up to the sergeant level. Right? And he has a budget to do that. And I what I'm hearing is that in many years, that money goes straight back to the general fund because he didn't promote people. He did not promote people, even though he can promote people without even having to go to the Police Services Commission or the Prime Minister or the National Security.
We're talking about this commissioner or
this commissioner. Okay. Yes. He has not promoted as many people. So Corporal Rowan James, Miss McBean, Police Federation, therein lies one of your biggest problems. When people cannot get it's a disgrace to have somebody, walk off them boot heel, if you buy them on a uniform, if you fight crime and deserve a promotion, and them in the force 15 years. And
the Commissioner of Police, is escorted every day. I'm proud of, and I can't hear we give away. And get too much of taxpayers' money. And security guard behind him. And Corporal Rowan James and members of the JCF need help. Commissioner of Police.
Let me say this
to their resignation.
Let me say
it's time for you to resign.
Let me say this to the police commissioner, sir. With all due respect, I watched you in a public forum on February 28th, 2020 in Fort Lauderdale. Tell people that best practice say a law enforcement agency shouldn't attempt more than 2 or 3 technology projects at a time. But Jamaica was doing, I think you said 15. And this year, when you came accompanied by the Prime Minister, or the Prime Minister came accompanied by you to the town hall meeting a few weeks ago, you said that the JCF was involved in 35 projects. Sir, you know better than that. You yourself said that best practices say that you should only attempt 2 or 3. Now, given the short staff that you have and the poaching by private industry and all the other factors, you have made it abundantly clear to me, and this is my opinion, you have made it abundantly clear to me, sir, that you have no idea what you're doing. And I agree with my colleague, Mr. Jeffrey Tavares, that you should resign immediately. That money that you've been collecting over the years, that 18 million or whatever, you just got a raise. That money, if you have any decency, sir, you should take that money and you should establish a scholarship a fund for children.
Let's just in unison here said that all four of us we're in sync in this one based on the batch job and the increased murder rate that we're seeing in Jamaica consistently over a number of years, coupled with the fact that the Commissioner of Police held the job of
National Security Advisor.
To the police, to the Prime Minister. We are saying here in one voice on this forum here this afternoon, Reggae Global Radio, the program hosted by Mr. Rattigan, that the Commissioner of Police should tender his resignation. And we have buttressed our point.
Make a put a thing on that too, right? If him don't want to leave, we want Mr. James and the police, 10,000 strong or 12,000 strong, 12,000 plus strong, come out and make your voice be heard. We're not working with this commissioner. We don't have no confidence in him. You understand? He need to leave.
What I would say to him,
gentlemen, not only that, the Minister of National Security, Dr. Harris Chang,
need to go.
It is time for you to go. Pack your bags and go.
Well, if we're to go by our sources that usually quite credible.
Before the time.
That are usually very credible.
It is New Year's Eve. It is time for them to pack their bags and go from Prime Minister. Go straight down, pack on the bag and go.
Before midnight.
Jamaica is in crisis.
Yes.
Pack on the bags tonight. Can I know the Governor General, the Prime Minister of Jamaica, the Most Honorable Andrew Michael Holness, the Commissioner of Police, Major Anthony Anderson, the Minister of National Insecurity and Injustice.
Whoops.
Can I know resignation? Pack on the bags and go.
So you're saying, Mr. Tavares, that the PM should basically send a proclamation to ask the Governor General to issue a proclamation and dissolve the Parliament and go to the poll for a fresh election.
Indeed.
Okay.
Well, let me just.
Jamaica, for far too long, we allow the criminals to become a clear and present danger to the national security of the people of our country. And none of them, neither PNP nor JLP, can secure the people of our country. It is time for them to pack their bags and go. Enough is enough.
Well, let me just add a piece. Hold on a second.
Hold on. So you have another party? Because we have two parties and the people of Jamaica move government by the ballots, right? They basically render a verdict on the PNP in 2016, and certainly in 2020, and elect the Jamaica Labour Party. And again, we're staying on point, one government at a time. The people elect the Jamaica Labour Party. They said that they could do a much better job. They have performed worse. So let's stay on point. Ask the people, let them decide and basically elect the opposition, because if you have two parties, then certainly if one is not cutting it, then you go to the other. And
all right. Let me hold on one second.
We have been doing this from 1962 until now.
Gentlemen.
We have to be basically logical in what we're doing. Where is the third party?
All right. Listen. Hold on one second. Let me just say this, that the Prime Minister came to America to discuss crime with American law enforcement. I am sorely disappointed, very disappointed, that he didn't mention corruption in his administration. That's probably one of the biggest things that he should have asked them for help with. He should have said, listen, I have some corrupt people in my government, and I know that they've wire transferred money out using the American system, thereby giving the FBI jurisdiction over this investigation. I will turn over the record. I will work with you hand in glove so that we can take these people out of my government, because I want to run a government that is transparent, that is honest, that is forthright. He did not do that. And that,
Rattigan, sometimes you short and let out a scene, and when look, you're one of the biggest fish where it wrap you up in that too. You understand? So him not going to do that.
Well, it just shows. That's what I'm saying. It just shows the fallacy of the whole thing. It just shows that this is just a waste of time. Because if you're concerned about crime in Jamaica, everybody will tell you that corruption is a major, major, major problem. And then when you come and you want to talk about, and listen, corruption is something that you can take care of, right? The borders you might need a little bit of help with. The transshipment of guns and weapons you might need a little bit of help with. But corruption, you can take care of it. And guess what? We have so many organizations in Jamaica, right, vying to deal with corruption. And when was the last time a politician went to prison? When?
None.
When?
The last time a Jack Smith.
That's a good question.
Jack
Because
Smith.
the lock up them, is it Myanmar?
Jack Smith for the thief, the one of them from the Portia, I think Portia they said them got prison.
Yes.
Jack Smith.
That's the last time.
He is to the farm worker.
Yeah, so gentlemen, here's what happened. We're coming up to the end of the program. It's 5:46. We're in that 6. What I'd like to do at this point is to get some, because 46 time's we're gonna run out of time. So what I'd like to do is just get some closing arguments from everybody. But the closing arguments should include solutions to the problems we've discussed here. So who wants to go first? I'm not gonna pick anybody. Who wants to go first?
Make Fireman go first. He can speak a little longer.
All right.
It's simple. Let me just tell you. You know, the corruption, the nepotism, the cronyism.
All right.
Yeah, me just finish up. The nepotism, the cronyism, the corruption. We need to hold them accountable. We, the people in the diaspora. Yeah? We have a lot of saying in because remember the diaspora, we are all of Jamaica, No make no mistake about it. They are about the 3.8 billion. I'm at Africa more than that.
It's more than that.
Even that Jamaica sink already. So we have talks, although them are going like them want elbow way out. We have a lot of talk because they say if them not listen to it, we have start hold back our money, Yeah, man, we forget serious hold back our money. Because the nepotism and the corruption and all kind of things, the police for stand on them own. Right? And we have to change up how we select commissioners. We don't want the yard boys for commissioners. We're tired of this kind of puppet business. You understand? Or politically aligned. It's not good for your country. You understand? We need to change that. Conrad.
All right. The 2022 has been a very, very challenging year. Rough year. A year that we see where the people of Jamaica continue to buckle under the strain of poverty, low income. Also, our workers continue to be on contract work and there's no benefit. However, when you look at all the things, I don't want to throw the baby out with the bathwater. There has been some positive, and then people can basically choose to pick those positives out. However, I believe that in order for us to move this country forward in a seismic way, we have to look at inequality. Inequality in terms of wages. We also have to look at how we treat each other in terms of the class structure in this country. We also have to look at how we fix the education system, starting at the basic school level. We must endeavor to pay more attention to our elderly, our disabled, and so on, in order to build the fabric of Jamaica. We must also look at those youths who have basically moved away from the workforce, because although we hear that the unemployment numbers are down in terms of the overall picture, less persons are in the workforce. It begs the question, what is really happening? Are people engaged in other unsavory activity? Or people just decide that, listen, may have a cousin overseas or a brethren and things like that, so may just go and beg some money? What is happening? Those are some of the fine points that we have to look at. Also, the health sector is a very, very troubling sector here in Jamaica. We have seen what is happening down Cornwall Regional. We understand from the minister that we should see some movements for 2023. We want to hold them accountable for that. And indeed, we need to see more more built out as it relates to our agriculture sector. I am backing the agriculture sector to be one of the big growth sector if we really treat it the proper way that we are to. So all in all, Jamaica is open. Jamaica has not died. A country don't die like that. But we have to hold our leaders accountable and put their feet to the fire. As people would say in the country, we need to put a little turpin time under them behind.
Mm-hmm. Yes, indeed. Pepper the wire.
So pretty much that's my take on the whole thing. I think parenting also is another big sector that I will urge people to look at. Some time ago, Patricia Duncan Sutherland said that we need an army of thing their worker. Remind me, the workers that work with people, they're social workers. Absolutely. We need an army of social workers. I understand that we have very little social workers in our schools. I think that's something that the government should take on for 2023, because those are some of the things that we're going to need to buttress Jamaica as a society, not the big gun and who can talk the loudest and who are the baddest man to get a position of national security. And against that background, I want to say my pick for national security minister is Dr. Sophia Longmore, the psychiatrist. Somebody that she and I have a lot of back and forth with already. But I think that we need a woman who would be solid in that position, and based on her background as a psychiatrist, she's my pick for national security minister.
All right. Thank you so much, sir. Mr. Tavares, final words.
My final word is this: the Prime Minister should have done his homework properly. We have an air base in Vernon Field. It's an old military base. Should have approached the American government and say to them, listen, you all have a military base down there. Refurbish the military base. Help us to fight drug trafficking and gun trafficking into this country and the drugs going into America. Put some Black Hawk helicopters down there. Put some stuff down there that can help to fight crime. It can't be that come 2023 is the same old thing over and over and over and over and over again. It cannot be. The time has come for us as Jamaicans to rise up, speak out, and stop this PNP and JLP bangarang in this country. Speak out. Call a spade a spade. Jamaica is in crisis. We're going on a slippery slope. We're becoming a banana republic. Wake up, Jamaicans. Wake up and stand up for this country. Join us on Tuesday when we come to you live with the Make We Talk program. We'll be speaking to Ambassador and the
Mashale.
Andy Mashale, Interpol Ambassador, from 10 o'clock until 12 midday with Wilfred Rattigan. We'll be on live. Thank you, Mr. Rattigan, for having me on this program.
All right.
And everybody, thank you all.
All right. Let me just say in closing that I'd like to thank my listening audience for spending the time this afternoon with us, because you could have spent it doing something else or being somewhere else, but you've chosen to spend it with us, and we're grateful for that. I'd also like to thank my distinguished panelists, the fireman, the renegade who not afraid, and, of course, the defender, for providing a scintillating discussion around the topics affecting Jamaica, particularly in the crime area for 2022. I hope that people are paying attention to what we're doing, and I'm hearing that our message is resonating with the people of Jamaica and also with the people in the diaspora. And I cannot wait for the day when we have a transparent government. Any government. I don't care about the party. I care about the people. But something that's transparent, something that's open, something that's honest. And look, we're all people. People are going to make mistakes. But the true test of a leader is when you make a mistake, you learn from it, you admit it, and you move on. You can't cover it up, you can't hide it. And that's what we see going on in Jamaica, where we cover it up, we hide it, or we ignore it. And we also tend to just push people away from us, people who are in a position to provide assistance. And the question is, why are we doing that? Are we afraid of something? What are we afraid of? Do we have skeletons in the closet we don't want people to look at? So the SOEs, the Governor General, the Prime Minister, the Minister of National Security, the Police Commissioner, they're all saying it's working. But they're in the minority. Because most of the people of Jamaica and in the diaspora, they'll tell you that it's not working. So my question and the solution I'm offering to them is this. If it's working, why not make it nationwide? Because here's what's been happening. We've been, English tutor in the chat room mentioned this, that they're praising the SOEs while countries are issuing travel advisories. It's only but for the grace of God. It's only the grace of God that keeps us going with tourism. But one day, something is going to happen that will cause that industry to collapse if we continue the way we're going.
30 seconds before you close.
Please, go ahead, sir.
All right, just by the way, I forgot to say, but just to remind persons who are under space and so on, to join me on Tuesday at 9 o'clock at News Talk 93 FM for your program, Straight Up with yours truly, Conrad O'Brien. And indeed, you can download the app. It's www.newstalk93fm. Those of you who are in the diaspora and elsewhere, you can join me via that link. And of course, those of you who are in Jamaica, you can pick us up and the 93 FM band.
Okay, thanks, sir.
And Robert Bobby Montague for Minister of National Security.
All right, Renegade, don't afraid. Say something about your program now so that the people who are on my site them can tune in.
Well, tell you the truth to the Rattigan, me not gonna talk about the program, because them know, them done them flip over.
Okay,
but them
all right.
don't even talk about the program, that's just the Renegade. For them say the man of the wilderness, them soon find me later.
Indeed.
Yeah. Well, again,
folks, talk about it, them just find me.
Right. So, like I was saying, if they wanna go ahead and do an SOE, then that's fine. But they should do it island-wide since it's so successful. There's a reason why they can't do it.
Rattigan, let me see. All right. Tell
we have 2 minutes.
With the drama, 2 minutes. But with the drama the other day, remember them did have that SOE run. Them have a Zozo plus a drama,
Right.
where the whole island shut down. But them have 1,308, right? 1,301, and then 1,462 the following year. The whole island is shut down when the pandemic it started.
Yes, and
the whole island.
And they blame it on domestic. They blame it on domestic.
They might get charged from us 200,000.
Right.
People have all about it.
All right. Well, we have to left with this, sir. So, folks, tune in next week to same time, same place. Reason with Rattigan, www.reggaeglobalradio.com. Next week, we'll be having Advocates Network. We'll have them on as our guest, and we'll go through a whole bunch of stuff. It promises to be very, very interesting, as today's program was. Again, many, many thanks to my listening audience, viewing audience, and to my distinguished panelists. See you guys later. Be well. Happy New Year.
And we're going over to Wayne Lawson program now.